now, 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. Brendan Dworzinski and Dane Lucero joining you here from our 580 studios on Huntoon Hill, here in the capital city for 580 Sports Talk today. 3 hours with Royals, NFL Draft, KU, K-State, possibly some realignment rumors, maybe some smoke, according to one insider. All that and more coming up between now and 6 o'clock right here on 580 WIBW. We're going to get to the Royals being on the wrong side of history for the second time. As far as I'm aware, it's only happened twice in the American League, and they were on the wrong side of it both times. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a few moments. I also have a comparison. This came up. I was doing crosstalk with Mike Dupp earlier today, and you being I would say a baseball historian, someone who's interested and knows a lot about the history of baseball. I'm interested in your thought on a comparison that Fulton, among others, made for this year's Royals team. So we will get to the Royals here momentarily. Also this hour, word from Jason Scheer, who is the Arizona beat writer for 24/7 Sports, who said that there is a lot of smoke about Colorado wanting to dip out from the Pac-12. I'm a little surprised that there is that much smoke about that because Colorado's administration has been we're good with the Pac-12 for quite some time now. So we'll talk about that storyline later on this hour. Plus, we've got a round of Random Question Tuesday coming up in just a little bit. Also today, we'll talk some more NFL draft. Dane Brugler from The Athletic put out his annual NFL draft guide. He calls it The Beast, and I understand why. It is hundreds of pages. It is massive. And he's got rankings for every single position. Where do the KU and K-State guys fall? Where is he projecting those guys will get drafted? That's coming up in the 4 o'clock hour today. Michael Swain is going to stop by. There was some KU news earlier today on the football side. Backup quarterback Ethan Vasco transferring out. That was a surprising move. So we'll talk to him about that. We'll talk about the transfer portal for basketball as well. We'll preview Royals Rangers tonight. 580 Sports Talk headlines. What is wrong with you? All that and so much more coming up on 580 Sports Talk today. We would love for you guys to be a part of the show. Jump into the comment section on YouTube. Our stream can be found on our channel, Sports on 580 WIBW. Comment section is wide open. We'll take your thoughts on anything we're talking about today. And of course, hit us up on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. And immediately, we have a haiku in from the Bard to start things off as we get to last night's unfortunate Royals loss. Raid the strike zone, guys. Coleman slept through that meeting. Message not received.
You know, it's funny because independently of the Bard's brilliant haiku, that was something I made sure to jot down in the rundown today. I believe it was The Athletic asked their baseball beat writers one positive early season trend for all 30 teams. And the one that was selected for the Royals is fewer walks from their pitchers. They have cut their walk rate by almost a full walk. Last year, Royals pitchers walked 3.7 batters per 9 innings. This year, it's an even 3. And that's even including Dylan Coleman, who could not find the strike zone with OnStar at this very moment. So,
OnStar.
Is that a dated reference? Do cars still have OnStar?
Oh, man, that's funny. I don't know. You don't see ads for it anymore.
No, you don't drive a commercials.
GM car.
Yeah, like the Apple CarPlay, I guess, is maybe a little bit more. But shout out to OnStar. Maybe if Dylan Coleman had it on board, he could find the strike zone. But no, that's a good point. And that was certainly what led to a great deal of the frustration last night, where a close game turned into a not close game in one fell swoop, because Dylan Coleman came in and walked the world. And then Jose Cuas threw a not all that bad pitch that ended up having a really bad result when Adolis Garcia golfed it into the left field seats for a game-killing grand slam. Again, I think what that more broadly speaks to is, hey, look, over 162 games, you're going to have nights where you get stomped, especially when you're not a particularly good baseball team. And the Royals, of course, don't really project to be. There's but so much you can take away from a night where the most encouraging development, or the most fun thing to talk about at any rate, is how good your right fielder looked on the mound. We'll get to Nate Eaton in a second. But even if you set Coleman aside, and he does very much need to be set aside, probably a trip to Omaha might do him some good. The plan, again, for improvement for Royals pitchers centered largely around fewer free passes. And that raiding the zone became sort of a catchphrase. They've all got, I think, T-shirts with that on it. We're in the lockers in spring training. And for the most part, there are some frustrating outliers, but for the most part, that's happening. Guys are throwing more strikes. Guys are not walking as many batters. And so I think that bears noting, while similarly making how last night's game unraveled that much more frustrating, because it's sort of emblematic of the way they've started this season. Like, there's some positive stuff happening, but it's all kind of being overwhelmed by the negative of a 3-8 record, or a negative of Dylan Coleman's ugly inning and his ugly walk rate so far.
The unfortunate side of history I was going to bring up for the Royals. Do you know what the record in the American League is for consecutive strikeouts to begin a game for a pitcher?
I think it's 9, isn't it, to start a game?
It is. It was 9. It was tied last night by Andrew Heaney of the Texas Rangers. Do you know who previously had accomplished that?
I should. Roger Clemens.
I should rephrase. The most recent player to have tied that in the American League.
I don't know the most recent, no.
Happened 11 seasons ago, 2012, of the Detroit Tigers. It was Doug Fister.
Oh.
You know who he did it against?
Was it the Royals?
It was the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah.
Not great. Not the right side.
No, you don't want your first 10 outs to be strikeouts.
No.
And they all kind of looked like carbon copies of each other. I was watching MLB Tonight before I went to bed last night, and they were showing a highlight reel of all of Andrew Heaney's strikeouts, and they all kind of look the same. High fastball, Royals couldn't touch it. High fastball, Royals couldn't touch it. But then he adjusted as his outing went on, started mixing some sliders. He had a good back foot breaking ball to strike out a right-hander. Guy was out there pitching. I mean, there was a reason he was fairly well-regarded prospect coming out of college, and why he's kicked around this long, why he pitched well for the Dodgers last year. Like, career numbers suggest Andrew Heaney's just a guy, but you're still in the 99th percentile of people able to do what you do.
Right.
And there is, to an extent, the need to tip your cap to Andrew Heaney last night, because he was doing some pitching. Fastballs up, breaking balls down, mixing and matching and pitching really, really well. So give him the credit that he deserves. But yeah, if you're the Royals, I mean, gosh, you gotta get the bat on something after a while.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope so. The other part of it could theoretically be sometimes you just run into one. Sometimes, as a batter, sometimes you just run into one, you hit a home run, you make great contact after a struggle, whatever. Sometimes as a pitcher, you just have a great game. Remember the Eric Skoglund game?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Eric Skoglund, one of the worst major league pitchers I've ever seen who got regular time.
Yeah, he was pretty bad.
He was pretty awful. He had that one game, though,
his
where
big league
was
debut. Yeah, I think he worked like a shutout into the 6th inning against the Tigers.
And
Miguel Cabrera tipped his cap to him, the whole thing.
Now, I will say Andrew Heaney better than Eric Skoglund.
Yes.
But you understand my point. The thing that came up today during crosstalk was a comparison. I think Fulton said they got this from David Lesky originally, but was comparing this year's Royals to the 2012 Royals. That was not a good Royals team. That was kind of before the ascent. 2013 was the
2013
fun year.
They won 86 games, and then obviously 2014-15 were the pennant winning years. Yeah.
So 2012, not great, not a very good roster that year. A lot of young guys who they had a lot of hope for, who were in year 2, who were still developing, who were still trying to come along. That team went 3-14 to start the season, but they ended the year 72 wins, 72-90, or was it 70-92? Either way, they got past the 70-win threshold.
It was 72-90.
So that's not a good record by any means, but that's also not horrible given a 3-14 start to the year.
Right.
If the Royals could get to that point where at least they're playing, they would. So that team ended the year 69-76 in their final, what would that have been, 145 games.
Mm-hmm.
If the Royals could get to a point where they are playing close-ish to 500 baseball, well, we're going to have a much more enjoyable summer, even if the regular season record is not very good. The problem, to me, the question, the issue is, do you have enough talent on this team to believe, yes, we can just will our way to 72 wins? The young guys, the just raw talent they have, that's obvious. Melendez and Witt and Pascal, we know that that's there. Does the rest of the roster, and, Salvi, obviously. But when you get to batters 6 through 9 or 7 through 9 on any given day, and you're giving actual at-bats to Jackie Bradley Jr. in 2023 or Matt Duffy or whoever else, and your pitching staff is what it is, do you think you can will yourself to there? So I was curious what you think of that comparison, and also if you think this Royals team, as presently constructed, and it won't always be constructed just like this, it happens over the course of the year, but do they have the ability to play 500-ish ball for not just a stretch, but a prolonged period of time?
I think that's the hope, right? Like, typically speaking, before you get to a 2014 or a 2015, years where you win the pennant, you got to have a 2013, a year where, you figure out how to win. And then you got to have the developmental year where you make those strides forward. We've been waiting for a 2012 or even a 2011, where the Royals went 71 and 91 in 2011. We've been waiting for one of those years. Thought maybe 2021 looked like it could be that before they took all the big steps backwards with their pitching staff last year. So I definitely get where that comparison is coming from. It's fascinating to look back at those 2012 Royals and all of the young guys who would be the cornerstones for the pennant winning teams. Like Mike Moustakas played 149 games, didn't really hit. Eric Hosmer played 152 games. He didn't really hit. Moustakas had 20 home runs, but he had a sub 300 on base percentage, and Hosmer's on base percentage was barely above 300, and his slugging percentage sat in the mid 300s, which for a first baseman, not what you want. Salvador Perez was great, right? Took him right out of the box in 76 games. He was terrific. He was their third best hitter on the year. But yeah, that was very much a year where the young guys were taking their lumps. I think the hope was that was last year for some of these guys, but not all development is linear. You have to trust the tools. You have to trust the development and coaching of this brand new staff. That's another thing that this team has going for it that could bring it along as time goes on, as manager and player get used to each other. And that could certainly provide hope for a second half breakout, or at least some positive steps in the right direction. But yeah, I get where that thought process is coming from, because if you're going to have even a 2013, which how many Royals fans sign up for an 86 win season right about
every
now?
One of them,
even if it didn't make the playoffs, meaningful baseball, like we're talking about them and not holding our noses in April.
Every single fan.
Yes. Like you have to walk before you can run. You have to crawl before you can walk, all of those things. And, still waiting for this team to show the ability to crawl. 2012 was a crawl year. And I think that even in a 3-8 start, look, we're way too early to draw real conclusions, right? Like even looking at the standings in baseball, like 10, 11, everybody's 10, 11 games in. There are still some teams that have records that you feel like, okay, that's probably a small sample size fluke. Like the Arizona Diamondbacks lead the National League West. The Cardinals are 3-7. All of their studs.
I think that's holding.
Well, I looked at their numbers. All their studs are mashing. Yeah. I think their problem is probably on the mound. They might have some issues there.
Entirely.
But like they're gonna hit. Like Arenado and Goldschmidt and the new kid Jordan Walker, who's built like a Sherman tank. Yeah. Like they're gonna hit. They're not gonna go 3. They're not gonna lose 115 games or whatever they're on pace for. So like we're still too early to draw any firm conclusions. But if all you're looking for is just some progress, nights like last night are all the more frustrating because it feels like you didn't get anything. Like nothing came from that. You can't pull anything from that except, again, for Nate Eaton on the mound looking like a better late inning option than Dylan Coleman at the moment.
Which, fun, but that's not ever what you want to take away from a game, right? Like,
no,
you get that in, I think every sport's got some version of that where something funny happens, or wow, can you imagine that this happened, or we had to put this player here?
They have gone to the greatest of lengths to stop position players from pitching.
Yes.
Like baseball understands that there is an element of mockery that makes of every game where it happens, even though the novelty, I think, is amusing to even you don't have to be a baseball sicko to find it amusing when like Albert Pujols pitches in a game like he did last year. Like that's amusing, but there's a fine line between amusing and making a joke of it. And so the idea is fewer position players pitching. You're not making a joke out of it so much. Nate Eaton wasn't here for the jokey jokes. He came out there and he's throwing arm side running fastballs and spinning sliders and striking guys out. Like legitimately, the Royals may want to consider a two-way option on Nate Eaton, because currently he has as many strikeouts as a pitcher as he does hits as a hitter in 17 at-bats, which is not what you want.
No, that's very funny, though.
Yes. But not funnier than watching him go up there and throw flames. Like most position players, they go out there and they're just trying to get through the inning without blowing their arms up. So they're running it up there like 76 to 80 miles an hour. Like they've all got stronger arms than that, but they're not out there actually trying to do anything. Nate Eaton got out there like he was trying to save the 7th game of the World Series, man. He
saw the tweets.
He did. He threw down the sawdust and he was ready to compete. And I respect the hell out of that. He got a good arm. Like anybody who's watching him play like the outfield or third base, like you could see the arm talent is there. And for me, I'm surprised more position players don't like jump at the chance, because every one of those guys was probably at some point in their life the ace pitcher on their like little league team or their high school team. Like you were the best athlete on your team. That's how you got to the major leagues. You probably played short and pitched. Like that was what you did when you were 12, 13. Why not take it back? Why not embrace the throwback opportunity there? Nate Eaton certainly did, and it made for the lone bright spot in a pretty ugly night of baseball.
I was going to say, looking at the MLB standings page right now, this is maybe my favorite way to appreciate small sample sizes. Take the American League East, for example. The Rays are undefeated. They're 10-0, which is wild.
They won 1-0 last night. Played a real team, played the Red Sox, and Brandon Lau, late home run. They won at 1-0.
They have a plus 58 run differential so far. They've only allowed 18 runs through 10 games. That's wild, but they also have had a very easy schedule. Second place right now in the AL East is the Toronto Blue Jays at 6-4. They have a -4 run differential. Take the NL West as the reverse of that, where the Diamondbacks, as you said, they're 3 games over 500. They have the exact same number of runs scored and runs allowed. So over the course of a year, you would expect them to finish about 81 and 81. The Dodgers at just 6-5 are plus 24. I would imagine, give me like another month and those two might flip in the standings.
I'm trying to remember how much of that was one win over the Rockies. What they beat us? 13-4, I think it was. 13-4. So they are plus 12. Half of their run differential is the 2 Rockies games.
That's not great.
It's not what you want.
By the way, the Pythagorean expectation would say the Dodgers should already have 8 wins. So, small sample size.
Yeah, we're way too early to draw firm conclusions about anything, about anybody as a hitter, about anybody as a pitcher. There are certain trends that are good. Those good trends are encouraging. The negative trends, well, sometimes if you're a young player and you don't have a track record, or maybe you've been trending in the wrong direction for the last couple of years, if you're a veteran player, then maybe you start to throw up some red flags. But negative trends for young players who are maybe in their first full season or second or third seasons, and they established a baseline of performance, you're not worried about that. And the Royals are there offensively. Even though it's been pretty rough to start the year offensively for the Royals, I'm not panicking about like Bobby Witt Jr., MJ Melendez. We talked about Pasquantino yesterday. He had a really good weekend. He's been hitting the ball well. Like, I'm not panicking about those guys yet. I don't feel like there's any reason to start to worry that these guys are lemons. I think that it has been a rough start. It has been a rough stretch. But if you're not a contending team, or sometimes even if you are, you're going to have stretches where you lose 8 of 11. You're going to have nights where you get walked all over because one reliever wets the bed and you give up 7 runs in an inning or whatever it ended up being after the grand slam. Like, that's, as many would say, that's baseball.
Real quick, what is the most positive trend so far for the Royals?
I think it's just the pitching staff is a lot more watchable. They're striking more guys out. They're walking way fewer guys. Bubic in particular is really intriguing through his first 2 starts. And that's the part where they've done the most overhauling in terms of how they approach it, how they develop it, how they want to teach it, how they want to use data to try and improve it. And it's good that the signs are positive. Like if they were still out here, like they're 9th in the American League in ERA, which is not spectacular, and they're dead last in hits allowed, which is kind of fascinating. But they're middle of the pack in strikeouts and walks. And after being dead last, that's a step forward. Last season, that's a step forward you want to see. So for me, that is the most encouraging trend. Is again, we're talking about this the night after they give up 11 runs, but I see some positive signs with the pitching staff, some of those young guys in particular.
Yeah, I mean, the overall score last night lopsided, but by the same, I mean, Coleman was obviously bad, and the grand slam was bad, but 3 runs in 5 innings from Greinke isn't exactly ideal, but it's also not a back-breaking number. The rest of the bullpen was okay-ish, okay enough. So you end up in a situation where, yeah, was it bad overall? Was the final score bad? Yeah, but that wasn't necessarily emblematic of what they have been so far throughout the season. I mean, if you've played 11 games and you've got 7 good bullpen days compared to 4 bad ones, considering who this staff is made up of and what they have been in the recent past, I think you take that and you say, it might not be good, but it's a better development, and that's what we need at this point if you're the Kansas City Royals. We're taking your thoughts on the Royals on the text line, 785-272-9429. And we are also taking your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube, Sports on 580 WIBW. That is the name of our YouTube channel. Go subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to take a quick break, our first break here on 580 Sports Talk. Random Question Tuesday is up next, and we've got some Big 12 realignment rumors to get to later on in the hour on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan with you, just getting started on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Thanks so much for swinging by. It's time for Random Question Tuesday. Here's a real quick one from the YouTube comments, Dan, from our guy Ryan, who says, how do you feel about the Sunflower Showdown coming up this weekend for college baseball? I know I am not a big college baseball guy. It's not anything against the sport, anything against the teams. It's just something I have never followed, and I have never cared all that much about. I do know K-State's record a little bit better overall this year, but KU super hot as of late. They took 2 of 3 from a top 20 West Virginia team.
Yeah, I think they'd won 7 straight before they dropped one against the Mountaineers, and they played a night at Legends.
Yes, they do. In fact, they had won. It was 8 in a row before that loss to West Virginia. And yeah, the Buck O'Neil Classic tonight against Texas Southern at Legends Field in KCK. So that is very cool. Love that event.
Yeah, both teams have played some decent ball. You've got K-State at 500 in the conference, 6-6. KU's 5-4 in the conference, and surging after kind of a slow start. So it'll be I think a good litmus test this weekend for both programs, kind of see where they're at, if this hot streak is something that KU can build upon, or if Kansas State can continue to play some solid ball. Series win for K-State would be big, because they're a team that's kind of fringy as far as their postseason hopes go right now, and they need to start stacking some series wins if the Batcats are going to make that happen.
I'll say KU takes 2 of 3. K-State gets 1, but I say KU takes 2 of 3.
Okay.
Because, sure, that this has been talking metal bats on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Random Question Tuesday. We're going to talk to Michael Swain later on about the transfer portal. I'm going to give you a variation of a question I know we have done before. You are a graduate with eligibility left at your alma mater. You're going to enter the portal as a graduate transfer. So you got to follow the grad transfer portal rules, but where are you transferring to? So you have to go somewhere that offers a major or a program you can't get at your current school. And you've got a year left. You can go anywhere right away.
Well, where was I before?
You're at DePauw.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, your alma mater.
Okay, so I'm a 3-time Division III All-American, and I got some D1 programs hitting my line. They think I'm going to be the next Duncan Robinson.
Yeah.
And, maybe I could have been if only I'd had a chance. Where am I?
If coach had put me in, maybe.
We could have won state. If I'm doing 1 year of school, I'm going to do it somewhere the weather's nice. I'm going to do it somewhere I have a good time. I'm not. And yeah, somewhere, we probably play deep into the NCAA tournament, ideally. So someplace like a UCLA, behind the list, Arizona State.
Could you get into UCLA? I don't mean that to be an insult. Like, did you have grades to get into UCLA? I would not. UCLA would not have accepted me.
I was spoiled for choice, without sounding like I'm humble bragging over here.
No, that's fine.
I could have gotten into like anything shy of an Ivy. I probably could have gotten into just fine.
I could have done like a good like a good state, like a Big Ten school. I could have done that. I mean, I didn't have bad grades in college, but I also wasn't, exactly valedictorian either. Good weather is a consideration. I'm going to be honest with you. There was a point when I was in college, and I didn't go get a master's or anything, where I thought, what would it be like to go do a 1-year master's in media or journalism program at a school that has a good football team? What would that be like? And I definitely spent like an entire afternoon one time thinking, would Penn State be a good fit for me? What if I went to like Ohio State for a year just to know what it's like? Now KU football is respectable again, so I would never think about that. Also, I'm never going back to school, but that ain't for me anymore.
No,
I don't want to be out in those streets.
No.
So yeah, I would, at the time I would have picked a program with a real football tradition. Now I'm probably picking weather. I'm probably going to like Florida Gulf Coast.
Yeah, I think I probably would have gone. I probably would have gone weather. Probably like UCLA, like home football games at the Rose Bowl. Come on, man.
That'd be pretty sick. Although it would take like 3 hours to get there.
Hey, UCLA's in the nicer part of LA than USC is.
That's true. Yeah, I'm thinking south. I'm going to go to the American Southeast.
Okay.
Somewhere on the beach.
A little too humid for me.
Okay, that's fair.
The Southeast.
That's fair. It's sweaty. You just take a couple showers and it's fine. Wash off.
All right. My random question today. So my wife and I went out to dinner last night, and after we went out to dinner, we went to a grocery store to see what we could find in the discount Easter candy aisle.
Mm-hmm.
What are your favorite Easter candies?
Well, number 1 and number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, they're the Reese's eggs. That is number 1.
Hell yeah, brother.
I love Reese's cups regardless. I don't know what it is, but when they make shaped Reese's candies, they're always better.
The shapes taste better. It's a fact.
I don't know why, but it's true. The eggs are number 1. The Christmas tree is number 2 for me in terms of your shaped Reese's candies.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
That would be number 1. Okay. Normally, I wouldn't say jelly beans, but as a kid, the only time I ever had them was at Easter.
The Starburst jelly beans.
Those are really good.
Exceptional. Yeah.
Those are very, very good. So those would be up there for me. I'm trying to think of anything else Easter specific. I mean,
yay or nay on the chocolate bunny, the classic chocolate bunny.
Oh, I'm big on the chocolate bunny.
Especially if it's like a milk chocolate.
Yeah.
100%.
I would do milk chocolate or I would do dark chocolate. When I eat dark chocolate, I feel so fancy. Like, yes, I am an aristocrat. I am eating Hershey's Special Dark, lying on my couch.
So Abby and I discovered last night as we were raiding a local grocery store for the discount Easter candy. They've got what are called the Reese's Pieces eggs.
Yes.
And those were new to us. Essentially, they are like a giant Reese's piece in the shape of an egg. So there's big Reese's Pieces.
Interesting.
And snagged a couple of bags of those. We brought them home. And I was sitting in the living room. My wife went to, we'd gotten home from dinner. I sat down in the living room. I turn on the baseball. And my wife comes into the room and says, Dan, why did we only buy 2 bags of the Reese's peanut butter, Reese's Pieces eggs? Those are incredible. So I may have to go forage for some more if they haven't been sold out yet. But yeah, the Reese's Pieces eggs, if you looked at those and you were skeptical, let me wash away your skepticism. They are awesome.
Yeah, that sounds delicious. I saw those the other day and I didn't know what they were. And I thought, I'm sure they're good. I like Reese's Pieces. I like Easter candy in general, but I didn't know what they were.
We've got a text in from the 785 on the text line right now that says, try making s'mores with the thin Reese's, like the thin Reese's peanut butter cups, I'm sure they're referring to. And this person, I honestly firmly believe should be eligible for a MacArthur Genius Grant for coming up with that idea. That is an incredible idea.
That is, okay.
I'm doing that this summer.
I don't like s'mores because I don't like marshmallow.
Okay.
I'm not a marshmallow guy.
Okay.
Now, I was the annoying guy at the fire pit who would just take a graham cracker and eat it or take a piece of chocolate and eat it. So I will do that. And, if we're standing around, I'll hold it out a little bit, melt it to the graham cracker and eat
chocolate,
it.
Sure.
I do not like
you don't like
marshmallow.
Wow.
No. Cadbury eggs. Yay or nay?
Yeah, like the cream eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in on the cream eggs.
I could take them or leave them. I don't love them, but I'm not grossed out by them. I was looking up what other ones are. Did you ever have I'm seeing that there were Whoppers. They're little egg shaped and they're like pastel colors and they're speckled.
Yeah.
You ever had those?
Yeah. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even remember what those are called. I just know they're good.
According to the website Taste of Home, they are called Whoppers Mini Robin Eggs. So yeah.
Yes, the mini robin eggs.
Yeah, I haven't had one of those in a long time.
The robin's eggs are really good. We've got another text in from the 913 on our text line suggesting dipping Twix in peanut butter. We are right now like at the forefront of candy creation.
This is the final frontier of sweets.
Candy consumption innovation.
Wow.
I'm going to try all of these things.
Yeah, write these down. We'll try these.
Another yay vote for the Reese's S'mores from the 785. They're fantastic. Been doing it for years.
Yeah, we have another comment on YouTube from our guy Clayton who says, I can confirm Reese's on a s'mores is amazing. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, that never would have occurred to me.
Love the innovation. One other Reese's or just Easter candy. Reese's Pieces in the bag that's shaped like a carrot. They're all orange Reese's Pieces, and you funnel them into a bag that looks like a carrot. Those taste better than regular Reese's Pieces.
They do. It's a fact.
It's just a fact.
But the Reese's Pieces eggs are even better than those.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try this. That sounds really freaking good. We've got to get to a timeout. We'll take your candy innovation ideas on the text line and on the YouTube comment feed throughout the day. We do have to get to a commercial break. When we come back, some more Big 12 realignment rumors. Are we getting closer to an old friend coming back in the fold? We'll discuss next on 580 Sports Talk. We're back on 580 Sports Talk, 344 on this April 11th. Brendan and Dan here with you. We've got some more candy takes in the YouTube comment section. This is from Matt, just a general candy take. Red Vine's hands down the best red licorice. I'm going to disagree. Twizzlers over Red Vines. I know where you can put a nice, big, fresh, the canister of Red Vines, though. Right here in this trash receptacle, you can put your Red Vines right in here.
Wrong.
You can dump them all
Wrong.
right in here. They smell like candle wax. Get rid of them.
Boo!
Gross.
Wrong. No. Absolutely not.
Your Twizzlers, though, you can bring to me, and I will eat all of them.
Absolutely terrible Red Vines take. You know what Red Vines smell like? Red Vines smell like a Sunday afternoon at the ballpark, man.
Yeah, if your Sunday afternoon at the ballpark was also a trip to a candle store, no. Ugh.
No, it's not. No.
Gross.
What are you talking about?
They're waxy and do not like. I'm sorry. Clearly, Dan and Matt are going to fight me here, but still. Also, this from Clayton says another good thing along the s'mores line. Take a waffle cone, fill it with Reese's Minis and marshmallows, wrap in foil, and put on the campfire for a few minutes. That is extreme.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's not, by the way, a disparaging comment. That is commitment to the grind.
That sounds like you're making soup.
I respect it. If it tastes good, go do it. I have never done that again. I'm not a marshmallow guy, so I'm going to have to pass, but I like it. I like the extreme take. This one, do you like the fruity candies? Like a fruit roll-up or a gusher or anything like that?
I don't hate them. It's just been a long time since I've had them.
That's fair.
Like, I walk by the gushers aisle, and like, those are for children, right? Like, I can't walk out of here with a handful of fruit by the foot.
From
fruit roll-up solid though.
From one commenter whose name I'm not sure his actual name. His screen name is Average Guy 3. Thank you, Average Guy. Says take a fruit roll-up and roll it with a sleeve of gushers inside and enjoy. That is what gave me diabetes.
That sounds like a lot.
I used to always keep a thing of fruit gushers in my desk in case I had a low crash and I needed something quickly. But then you have to go like immediately take insulin because it just shoots it way up in the other direction. It's very delicate balance with those pure sugar treats.
You guys have clearly been on the cutting edge of candy consumption.
Yeah, this is an untapped market we did not know about.
Yeah,
I was totally unaware we had the smartest minds in candy combination.
Here I am just buying a piece of candy, unwrapping and eating it like a sucker when I could have been doing all this other cool stuff.
No, that's awesome. Please continue sending them in because this is going to give me ideas all summer long. Did want to get to some realignment rumors here for the Big 12. We have heard over the last couple of days the latest on, oh, yeah, by the way, the Pac-12 is not going to get a media deal done until this summer. That's not good. One thought on that, you know what has happened each of the last 2 summers in particular? Like last summer, what was it, July 31st, July 1st, something like that? Either the beginning or the end of July. USC and UCLA announced they're leaving the Pac-12 for the Big Ten. You know what happened almost exactly 365 days before that? Texas and Oklahoma announced they were leaving the Big 12 for the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
That tells me if you're going to wait into the summer and, July 1st or whatever has kind of been the drop dead date for let's make wild news about realignment, seems bad for the Pac-12. You're going to wait and give all that time for some sort of big announcement.
Especially when you had the head start advantage getting to the market before the Big 12 did, an advantage that the Pac-12 leadership has squandered. And especially when we keep hearing it'll be weeks, it'll be days, something will be done soon, and then nothing gets done.
Mm-hmm.
We're smack in the middle of baseball season. We've been talking about this since football. And now we're smack in the middle of the spring sports season in college athletics, and they don't seem any closer to a deal, with the latest reports being that, yeah, the CW might want a piece.
Yeah.
But they don't want the whole.
Which, I still earnestly believe that there is some logic there. Like, even if it's one game a week, 7 p.m., or, I don't know what the time zones would look like, but one Saturday night game on the CW, because it's in every single market in the country over the air, or big market anyway, and it's on every cable provider. You're going to have your one Pac-12 network broadcast game. Fine. Get into households. I get that. It's already better than Pac-12 network. But if even they're like, yeah, we want one. We're not going to take more than that. We're going to settle with one. Amazon can deal with the rest. Doesn't feel like a great spot.
So Andrew Marchand of the New York Post, who reports on sports media happenings and has notoriously been much more down the middle on the college sports TV media landscape than, say, your Stuart Mandells or your John Wilners or even some of your Big 12 writers.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Marchand published this yesterday. The Pac-12's media rights agreement won't be completed until late spring or early summer, according to the Athletic college football writers Stuart Mandel and Max Olson. They said the CW is now in play. We will add this to the conversation around potential defections from Pac-12 to the Big 12. Watch Colorado. That is not something that a reporter like Andrew Marchand would just throw out there recklessly.
No.
That is real smoke.
Yeah, among sports reporters on any beat, team, league, media, whatever, I think Andrew Marchand might be like the best of the best in the game right now in terms of just down the middle news reporting. And he's not always right because no one ever is, but he's pretty close to it. That is significant to me, just hearing that, and there's more here we'll get to in a second. Colorado, while it's a natural fit for the Big 12 because it was in the conference from the very beginning and was a Big 8 member for forever and has rivalries there and history and all that, geographically makes more sense than the other schools. The word I've always heard is that their administration much prefers to be in the Pac-12 because of its academic profile, because you're with the Washingtons and the USCs and UCLA and Cal and Stanford and all those. They liked that part of it, so they'd rather stay there.
Feeling like they have a little more in common with those institutions than with the land-grant institutions that comprise the beating heart of the Big 12. Like, they talked about that when the move was first made. That was all you heard was, we feel like the Pac-12 is a better cultural fit. And that, and a big portion of their alumni base living west of the Rockies was essentially what they were talking about.
Right.
But this is where it gets interesting for Colorado right now. Of the 10 remaining Pac-12 schools, does anybody have a more bankable football brand right now than Colorado does with Coach Prime on the sidelines? Are they the most intriguing football brand left? And that's with respect to, obviously, the much greater level of success that Oregon has had, that Washington has had. But other than the success and Oregon's ever-changing cool uniforms, like, what's a bigger deal in football than Coach Prime?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking the program's brand, it is Colorado right now edging out Oregon, because Oregon's got the Nike money and all the uniforms. They have had success. They had a Heisman Trophy winner not all that long. Like, Oregon's got that. But like Washington, while it's a good program, it's not a cool program. There's nothing cool about Arizona State football. Now, Arizona State's other culture, maybe, but there's nothing like, oh man, we got to have Arizona State football. Colorado has that, though. They've got the juice. And if you're Mark, you can understand why he would be interested, because what has his whole thing been? We're not just sports. We do have sports, and we're good at them, but we are entertainment.
And if you're Colorado, you're feeling like, hey, the iron is hot right now. As hot as it's been for a program that's been to, 2 bowls since 2001? Something like that. Something unfathomable if you grew up in the 80s and 90s and remember what Colorado football was once upon a time. Like, the hiring of Deion Sanders, it may be craven and cynical, but undoubtedly it has increased the profile of Colorado football and made it something desirable. And if you're Colorado, you want to get that product. You want to get that football program in front of people, on television, in front of as many eyeballs as you can, in good time slots, not on a conference network that, by the way, ain't nobody in Denver gets.
No. Nobody anywhere gets. It is incredibly hard to get along the West Coast, which you'd think is where, you would want West Coast fans to be able to see it.
It's easier for me in Northeast Kansas to watch the University of Colorado than it is for the average Denver resident to watch the University of Colorado play football.
Not great.
No.
Not what you want.
So, like, I would think that there would be a lot of urgency from Colorado. It would make a lot of sense to me if Colorado, in the moment, felt like, man, we thought the grass would be greener on the other side, and now we're looking back over the fence, and that grass is looking a lot greener for us right now, where we currently stand.
And to be completely honest with you, because what is one of the concerns about Deion Sanders and just what he has been in his career, that when the next good opportunity comes,
like, he won't be there long.
Deion goes. If you're Colorado, and I'm not trying to, besmirch Deion Sanders here specifically, but if you're Colorado and the getting's good right now, but it might not always be, we also know the Pac-12 might not always be in a great spot. If Oregon and Washington want to leave, which we actively know that they would prefer to be in the Big Ten. If that conference hits a wall even more than it has right now, and we want to be stable, whether or not we have Coach Prime, the Big 12 is, I think, probably the better situation.
Right now, absolutely it is.
So it's not just a now play. That feels like a long-term play.
Come on back. Roll with the winners. We know you missed those trips to Ames and Lawrence and Manhattan. It's more fun to play against KU and Oklahoma State than it ever was to play against Washington State or Cal.
Yeah.
Come join us. Bring Utah with you.
Bring a little history back. We have lost so much of it in college. And I know Nebraska's not here anymore, but everyone else is. The rest of the crew still here, and we're going to play Texas.
Yeah.
Come on back. It'll be plenty of fun. We've got to get to a break for our national and local news here at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. But when we come back after the news break, we'll take a look at where Dane Brugler of The Athletic projects that some KU and K-State players will go in this year's NFL draft. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk. now it's time for the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero here with you. Thanks so much for joining us for this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Whether you're listening on 580 AM, 104.9 FM, 580WIBW.com, or watching us on YouTube, Sports on 580 WIBW, we appreciate you being a part of the show today. By the way, really quick, before we get to this 4 o'clock hour, do you remember a couple weeks ago, I think it might have been Matt on YouTube, accused you of drinking Zima in college?
I do. I do remember having to address some Zima drinking allegations, which I thought were very unfair.
We have another conversation about Zima going on right now in the YouTube feed. I don't know why. Number one Zima show on Sports Talk Radio.
I don't believe that is. I think that might even be a less current reference than my OnStar reference that opened the show. Which, by the way, shout out to the texter who chimed in on that from the 785 and said that they stopped putting OnStar in cars as of last year.
Really?
So it is no longer a current reference, but it would have been last year. Zima has not been on the market in a solid 5 years.
No. Yeah, no one drank Zima when I was in school. I can tell you that much.
They're not even drinking it in Japan anymore. It's been discontinued there.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Also, Mark mentioning, and we are noticing it here in our studio as well. It is very hot outside for April 11th. It's very hot.
No, we didn't get spring, did we?
No, we really didn't.
We didn't get those like nice 65-degree spring days, like a t-shirt and sweats weather or hoodie and shorts. My favorite weather. No, we ain't getting any of that. No, right into summer.
It happens sometimes. Again, we are taking your thoughts on the text line, 785-272-9429, and in the YouTube comments section, all throughout the show today. We'll talk some NFL draft for KU and K-State here momentarily. We've also got our What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by Top City Metal Supply later on this hour. And Michael Swain is going to join us for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael Swain, of course, of Fog.net and 24/7 Sports to talk all things KU. Some transfer news on the football field for KU today. We'll talk a little portal as well. That's coming up at the bottom of this hour. But as for the NFL draft, I mentioned this earlier, but Dane Brugler, who does a great job in terms of forecasting the draft and breaking down prospects, he's the mock draft guy, the main draft guy for The Athletic. Every year, a couple weeks before the draft, he releases his draft guide, which is called The Beast. And it is because it is several hundred pages long, and it's got write-ups about hundreds and hundreds of prospects. And he's got a ranking of the top anywhere between 15 and 40 or however many for each position. And then, oh yeah, by the way, here's other draft eligible players and all their measurements. It's incredible. So he has a list, or I put together a list of all of his ranked players that went to KU or K-State and where he projects them to go in this year's NFL draft. So we'll play a little too high, too low, talk about some surprises as well. We'll just go position by position. First one, I didn't even actually put this on my list. He had Adrian Martinez ranked as the number 21 best quarterback in the class. I think usually you get about 12 quarterbacks who get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean this as an insult. I think something like a spring football, like an XFL or a USFL, is great for a guy like Adrian Martinez, who's a great athlete, maybe not the best thrower, but good enough, who can, if he wants to keep playing football for a while, play at that level. I don't think he's an NFL player. Sorry, but I don't.
I don't either. I think the injuries probably have as much to do with that as anything else. But I think he's probably got a good enough reputation that I wouldn't be surprised if he got a camp invite, be a fourth or a fifth quarterback in camp somewhere. And then, maybe beyond that, a look at an XFL or USFL roster spot down the road might be realistic if that's a path he wants to take.
CFL teams also keep a running quarterback a lot because they've got different rules about running the ball, and it's easier to have a guy on the roster who just carries the ball for short yardage. So maybe that if he wants to continue playing football at the pro level. All right. So as for the players who are actually graded here, the first one from the running back group, Deuce Vaughn. He's got him listed as running back number 15, a fourth or fifth round pick. You and I have differed a little bit on where we think Deuce is going to go. I think there is a chance a team likes him enough to take him on day 2. But I would not be surprised if, because of his size, he ends up a day 3 pick.
On the basis of production, there's no question he's a day 2 pick.
Mm-hmm.
They measured him at 5'5" on his pro day.
He is tiny.
Like, that is so small.
Yeah.
Like, there have not been a lot of guys in the history of the National Football League that have made it work at 5'5". Like, it's just not a long list. Darren Sproles was 5'6", right?
Mm-hmm.
Who else you got? Dave Meggett, maybe. Well, he wasn't very big. Brendan Holiday carved out a career as a specialist.
He did.
He wasn't real big. Meggett was 5'7". I'm literally just...
Boston Scott's had a nice career. He's not 5'5", but he's pretty small.
Yeah. I'm going to go see if I can find what he's listed. He's listed at 5'6".
Oh, that's actually shorter than I thought.
Brendan Holiday, 5'5", but Brendan Holiday was, pretty strictly a return man.
Remember that time he got blown up by Pat McAfee? That was very funny.
He caught 2 passes in his 4-year NFL career. He was targeted twice and caught 2 passes.
Wow.
I think if anybody's going to buck that trend, it's going to be Deuce Vaughn. Because I just think he's that good a football player, and he's stronger than you think, and he's faster than you think, and I think there is going to be an NFL career for Deuce Vaughn. But I do think that concern about his size will be legitimate, and it will keep him from being drafted before the 3rd day of the draft. But somebody who gets him is going to get somebody very exciting. Like, that's going to be one where whichever team takes him on day 3, their fans are going to be hyped because it is so easy to watch what he did, because going to the NFL is not going to be the first time he's played against guys bigger than him, right?
No, literally every game he's ever played.
Yes. And he has made his competition look inferior and done it at times in a way that looks extremely easy. Like, it is not a stretch to picture his college production translating, even if not in a primary back role, in a 3rd down back role in the NFL. And I think whoever gets him is going to get that. And somebody who plays in the league for a while and who is productive, who can catch passes, who can make big plays, who can maybe even help you in the return game.
I figure he will.
I think absolutely Deuce Vaughn is an NFL player, and he will be a quality NFL player. But the thing that will hold him back is it's the thing that held him back in the recruiting process.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to look at 5'5" and say, man, I just don't know, because there's not a lot of precedent for it. But whoever takes the gamble, whoever decides the hell with size, did you see what this kid did to Big 12 defenses for 3 years? That team is going to get a contributing NFL player from day one.
So are you in agreement then? 4th, 5th round, probably?
That feels right for me, yes.
Man, I would take him earlier, but I'm not an NFL GM for a reason. I just think there's so much talent there. The shiftiness is great. He's just built for a pass-happy NFL team. And he's going to make someone very happy. I know that for sure.
Because I don't think he'll be a liability in pass blocking, because he sure wasn't a liability in pass blocking in the Kansas State offense.
Well, because it's about leverage when you're a running back in more than it is about size.
And he's strong as hell, man.
Yeah,
he is so strong.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, I do. I think he's going to be, and I think this is a great point. I love this from the 316 on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. From the 316, hope the Chiefs get Vaughn. Just want to keep watching him. Like, he's such a fun football player to watch. Whatever team gets him, their fans are going to be so excited to get to watch this guy in their uniform, because maybe he doesn't, like, Darren Sproles had a tremendous career. Mm-hmm. And if he falls short of having Darren Sproles' career, where he made 3 Pro Bowls and hung around the league for 14 years, like, there's no shame in that if Deuce Vaughn doesn't have Darren Sproles' career. But if he has a couple of years that look kind of Sprolesy, like, would not surprise me, and will be a lot of fun for whichever fan base gets to watch him and have him in their uniform.
No doubt about that. Another real quick one on the offensive side, skill positions from K-State. Malik Knowles listed as wide receiver 46, a priority free agent target. I think Malik Knowles is going to get a camp invite as a return man. I don't know that he's ever going to be a regular NFL receiving weapon, but I think a team is going to bring him in as a camp invite. I really do. Enough return skill out there. Every team needs one, and teams cycle through them quickly as well. Because usually if you have a really good one, you end up moving them to just playing offense. So I think someone will at least bring him into camp.
I think there's some intriguing wide receiver potential with Malik Knowles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we've even seen that surface begin to be scratched with him. I don't think we got to see that in full at Kansas State in a way we might have had he gone to a college with an offense that was more pass heavy.
That's the funny thing about the draft, right? Is you see a guy, like Deuce Vaughn, who's another example of this. What if he had been in a real, true spread system? What would he have looked like? Would we say he can do even more than we've already seen from him, or would we think he's more limited? Same with Malik Knowles. What if he was in a system that ran 4 wide all the time? Who knows? Impossible to say.
He's a big body. He's a weapon on slants around the goal line. He's capable of making the big plays, and obviously a game-breaking returner. To me, that's a draft pick. I understand why he's ranked where he's ranked in this particular evaluation, and why Dane Brugler thinks he's a priority free agent. I think somebody's going to take a flyer, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's as high as the 6th round.
6th round, interesting, very interesting with
just
that.
With the body and with there is a provable NFL caliber skill with him, and that is the ability to take a kickoff to the house.
Honestly, Chiefs have 2 7th-rounders. If Dave Tobe says that's my return guy, a team, not necessarily the Chiefs, but a team like that who says, hey, we need this piece and we give a lot of trust to our special teams coordinator, we give them a couple spots on the roster, a team like that probably would be interested late. First KU guy on the board, Earl Bostic, offensive tackle. Dane Brugler's got him as tackle number 17 in the class, a 6th or 7th round prospect. I think that's probably a good fit for Earl. Now, saying he's 6th or 7th round, so Brugler really does think he is going to get drafted. That's high enough that you think, yeah, this guy's going to get taken in all likelihood. I think that's a good spot for him. I guess I can say I wouldn't be super surprised if he went early 6th, maybe even late 5th for a team that really needed him and really liked the fact that he is a veteran and he's been really good on some really bad offensive lines during his career.
He stood out not just this past season, but he was a standout the year before that. There were people talking about him as an NFL prospect playing on Lance Leipold's first team. And you got to be pretty darn good to stand out on a team that struggles that much, on an offensive line that struggled as much as that one did 2 seasons ago for KU. So, yeah, this is an NFL player to me. And I do think, late 3rd day, his name will come off the board.
Good athlete. Started his career at tight end.
Yeah.
Good athlete. He played for 3 different staffs at KU.
That's wild.
And he stuck with, to be a draft pick who stuck with that, dude's tough. I'll tell you that much.
Mentally tough, for sure. Fun
guy to interview. I like Earl a lot. Started as a tight end under David Beatty, played for Les Miles, and then became an all-conference caliber player his last couple years. All-conference honorable mention, in fact, this past year, playing for Lance Leipold. I think he'll go somewhere. Someone that wants a real athletic backup tackle, I think, would be very interested in Earl Bostic. Next one on the list, we're going back to K-State. Here is likely the highest drafted player from one of our state schools, Felix Anudike-Uzomah.
Mm-hmm.
He's listed by Dane Brugler as edge rusher number 7, and he's got him as a solid 2nd round pick. I do not think there's any chance he falls below the 2nd round. I think he is for sure a top 60 pick. I think he's probably a top 50 pick, if I had to guess. He's got the size. Mm-hmm. He's got the production. He's got pedigree from the program he came from, which has turned out NFL players in recent memory, including the guy he replaced in Wyatt Hubert.
Yeah.
I do think he is a top 50 pick for sure. I would not be shocked if he was picked with one of the last couple picks of the 1st round, honestly.
Yeah, we've seen him that high in some mock drafts. We've even seen him mocked to the Chiefs a couple of times, a couple of different places. I have a hard time seeing him slip out of the 2nd round. I certainly no chance he's there day 3. He is a first 2-day pick in my mind. There were some concerns. I don't know which of the measurables were a concern for him. Might have been the size of his hands. I don't know. It's always something, right? There's always something you can nitpick coming out of somebody's pro day. But just look at the production. Just look at what he did on a game-by-game basis. One of the defensive players in the country that if you were playing against him, you had to account for him on every down. You had to know where he was. You had to game plan for that player. They were that productive. They were that impactful. Those guys tend to also find ways to make impacts when they get to the next level. Like I said with Deuce, whoever gets Felix getting a really good football player. And I do. I think I feel better about top 60 than top 50, but again, you're just kind of you're picking nits, I guess, between one of those or the other.
So looking at his combine measurables, he didn't run the 40, and it was his arms, I believe, that would have been the concern. Of the top 15 prospects per Dane Brugler, Felix has the third shortest arms of any of them. I mean, you're talking fractions of inches for a lot of these guys, but hey, teams care about that kind of thing. I'm looking at the guys around him, though. The top 5 from Brugler's rankings, I agree with in some order. Will Anderson from Alabama, Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech, who sounds like he might be a top 10 pick. Lucas Van Ness at Iowa, Nolan Smith at Georgia, who's just a ridiculous athlete. Miles Murphy, Clemson. Those are your top 5. After that, it's B.J. Ojulari from LSU, who sounds like he's got some first-round smoke. Felix, Will McDonald, Keon White from Georgia Tech, Derek Hall from Auburn. I would take Felix over at least McDonald, White, and Hall. At least. Like, I like him as an athlete better than I like Will McDonald. And I think...
Yeah, I can see that.
I think some folks like McDonald as a first-round pick. Like, if I was looking...
Yeah, if I were the Chiefs at 31, I would rather take Anyudike Uzama than McDonald. And I like McDonald maybe more than you do, but I think Felix fits the mold for Spags a little better than McDonald does.
I agree. I don't expect him to be a first-rounder, but I really would not be shocked if if there's a trade out at 29 or 30, or if the Chiefs at 31 took him, I would not be shocked one bit. Another edge rusher from KU, 1 year with the Jayhawks, but he was a really important player for KU. Lonnie Phelps. He's listed as edge 23, which seems high, but every team needs pass rushers. There's no such thing as too many pass rushers. Lonnie Phelps is going to get drafted. Brugler has him as a 4th or 5th round pick. He's not big. He's 6'2" and a little change, 244. He's not very big, but he did run a 4.5 40, and he's an older player. He's going to be 23 during the season, I believe.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of, and I don't know how similar they are size-wise, but I'm just talking about their kind of trajectories. A little bit of Mike Dana to him, where
I can see that.
Spent the early part of his career in the MAC, right? Lonnie Phelps was Miami, Ohio.
Yes.
And Mike Dana was Central Michigan. Ended up leveling up, going to play for a P5 their final year of college, and showed that they could be similarly productive at that level. And so that's kind of who I would compare Lonnie Phelps to as far as what his trajectory could be. For Dana, he was a 5th round pick, and that feels about right for Lonnie Phelps. That 5th round range will be where he finds himself.
My worry with Lonnie, because he's going to get drafted, and he's a good player. You put him on the field, he is going to make plays. My worry for him at the NFL level is that he might be a little too much of a tweener. I do not like tweeners on the edge, personally. And I just worry that he's going to be kind of stuck between, is he a stand-up edge or is he a hand-in-the-dirt edge? That is my worry. A guy who was like that, another Chiefs comparison, Breeland Speaks was like that. Now, Breeland Speaks also ate his way out of the league. That was a different problem.
Right.
Lonnie Phelps,
he got too big.
Yeah, Lonnie Phelps does not have that problem.
What did he measure at the combine? Because KU had him listed at 245.
Yes, he measured in at 6'2", 244.
Okay. If he can get up to 255, I don't think he's a tweener.
You put him hand in the dirt?
Yeah.
If you are with a program, with a team that says, we know we can put you in one spot and it is going to work for you, I think that kind of consistency would help him. That's the thing that would worry me is what is he? That's not a great spot to be in if you are an edge rusher. If you know you've got a spot for him, though, either you think, let's get him a little bit lighter and we'll put him in as a 3rd down stand-up specialist from the 2-point stance. Great. If you think, let's put on a little weight, we can have him be a 4-3 big defensive end. Probably a pass rush specialist. Again, I don't know that he'll be a 3-down guy, but I think one way or the other you can make it work because he is a playmaker. He was KU's best defensive player. Kobe Bryant got a lot of the attention. Lonnie Phelps was KU's best defensive player. I think you can make it work for him. It's got to be the right fit, I think, because otherwise you end up with what is he kind of question. Last 2 we'll get to real quick. Ty Zentner, he's got as a UDFA. He does not think Ty Zentner will get drafted. He has him as punter 18. How do you scout 18 punters?
Right.
Like, all the respect in the world to Dane Brugler. He's so good at this. He's been on the program before. 18 punters. And he wasn't even the last one. There's like 20 of them. I don't know. It'd be cool if he got drafted, though.
Yeah, it would be very cool. I think feels like a camp invite for me. Like, I did not watch tape of 20 different senior or draft eligible punters. I have a hard time believing there were 17 of them better than Ty Zentner, though.
I agree with that. All right, last one. cornerbacks. Julius Brents from K-State. Brugler's got him as the 12th best corner, 3rd-round pick. I think we might see Brents go in the 2nd round. He has taken a lot of top 30 visits. Teams get 30 where they can have formal, sit-down, day-long meetings with these players. Brents has gotten a lot of them. And he has shown from his time at Iowa, he can play in his zone. He has shown from K-State, where he was much more physical on the line than he was at his previous stop, that he can do that too. He's got good ball skills.
He's big.
I would spend a late 2nd on Julius Brents.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think there are going to be a lot of corners who fly off the board in the 1st round. It feels like there are going to be a lot of guys that go really high, maybe even a couple in the top 10 like last year. Like there's an outside chance Christian Gonzalez is a top 10 pick out of Oregon. Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois. Joey Porter Jr. Could be
Joey Porter Jr. Unbelievable.
I know, right? I can't believe that either. But like there's some really good corners on the board, and if some of them go early, and there was a team that maybe middle of the draft had a need, didn't get their guy, maybe middle 2nd round. Like I could see him being a name that goes like mid, maybe even early 2nd round. It raises a lot of eyebrows, but then when you look at the measurables and you look at what he showed he can do in college, it won't be that big a surprise. Like I think Julius Brents is going to be an excellent NFL corner, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 3 guy in a rotation for a team, either playing the slot or playing on the outside from day one. I think he's that good.
All right, real quick, because we have to get to a commercial break here. One player you think is going to go higher than this projection, one that might go a little bit lower. Brents, for me, is higher. I think Brents is going to go up a little bit. I love Lonnie Phelps. I'm just worried about how NFL teams are going to view his size. So I think he might go a little bit later on day 3.
I'm probably with you there. Brent's higher than 3rd round. Maybe Bostic ends up an undrafted free agent. You never know how that offensive line position really shakes out. So I could see that being a little lower.
If you've got a favorite prospect from one of our 2 state schools, let us know on the text line or in the YouTube comments. We have to get to a commercial break. We've got What Is Wrong With You next on 580 Sports Talk.
the hell?
It's What Is Wrong With Your Time on 580 Sports Talk. Before we get to Michael Swain and Jayhawk Weekly, our weekly champion, he's the naked, greased-up Florida man. Guy was under the influence of something, covered himself in wheel-bearing grease and peppermint oil, and also his own blood, and was breaking into houses and jumping into pools and hopping onto trampolines that weren't his. And it took 4 police deputies and 3 medical professionals to finally subdue him.
Tough scene.
I gotta imagine it's meth, right? Or like bath salts or something. It is Florida.
Good guess.
We've got 2 stories that are incredibly similar today. Before we get to them, I do want to remind you that What Is Wrong With You is sponsored by Top City Metal Supply, who cuts the metal you need to your specifications, saving time, money, and material. Never settle when it comes to your metal. That's Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Both of our stories amazingly involve middle school teachers today. Mine is going to take us to Tallahassee, Florida, where a woman who has been identified as a teacher at Griffin Middle School is facing charges for contributing to the delinquency of a minor for what court documents call an alleged role in organized fights in her classroom. We're back to middle school fight club, folks.
We love it.
An old classic coming back. The documents note a school resource deputy was alerted back in March that students were being allowed to fight in 23-year-old Angel Footman's classroom. School administrators were also shown videos purported to show several of the alleged fights taking place. Several fights. According to the documents, several 6th grade girls told detectives that they participated in planned fights during school hours, and they alleged they were invited back for additional fights. Champ stays.
She was the full Don King of this.
They also reported that Footman made statements including, quote, 30 seconds, no screaming, no yelling, no phones.
You got to have rules.
Yeah, first rule of Fight Club. A detective indicates in a probable cause affidavit he reviewed the videos and identified Footman sitting on her desk, failing to intervene, and making statements including, quote, no screaming, no nothing, and stop pulling hair.
She was the referee.
She was being Mills Lane. No biting. Let's get it out.
Clean up that rough stuff.
She claims she did not organize it, but was arrested anyway for, again, contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
So she's just giving him a safe place to rumble. We got ground rules. I'll keep an eye on it in case it gets a little too wild.
5 seconds on the desk.
On the one hand, I can almost see where her head's at. On the other hand, where is your head? What are you thinking?
Oh, my God. What do you have today?
We are going to Lake Oswego, Oregon. It was career day at Lake Ridge Middle School. Parents and other community members could teach students about different jobs they can pursue one day. One of the presenters was 43-year-old Ellen Sawo, whose Twitter bio, we think this is her, says she's a deal maker, biz dev, marketer, world traveler, Rotarian, adventurer, foodie, wine and fashion lover, full of laughter and a sense of play.
This sounds like one of the bot Instagram accounts that tries to get me in Bitcoin scams.
Well, she must have left her sense of play at home before she went to career day, because police say she got upset with the students, started swearing at them, and at one point slapped a student in the face. Luckily, the student is okay. The school reported the incident to police. Sawo was escorted from the school before police arrived, but was later arrested for harassment and taken to the Clackamas County Jail.
Why would you think that's okay?
I just want to know how career day, which is, hey, this is me and this is what I do, how that could escalate to swearing at the students and slapping them in the face.
I guarantee you there was a better way to handle this. That's incredible. Oh, my God. Don't let this woman around children ever again. Please. There are much harder things in life that you can't get through with a slap. Who wins in our battle of terrible people at middle schools?
I love the teacher fight club. It's just how laissez-faire her whole approach to the thing must be like, hey, I'll make sure nothing gets too out of hand. We're just going to let them fight. We're gonna circle the desks up like it's the octagon in UFC, and we're letting these girls throw hands, but there are going to be some rules.
Phones down.
We're not going to take video of this. Obviously, somebody took video of it.
Oh, man, that's good. Does that beat the naked, greased-up Florida man?
It's going to be really hard to beat the naked, greased-up Florida man.
That's the best. That's probably the best name we've ever had. And They gave it to us in the story.
It was in the headline. We did no legwork.
He maintains the win. The naked greased up Florida man wins again in What Is Wrong With You. Brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Metal cut to order when you need it. That's Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Michael Swain joins us next on 580 Sports Talk.
50 years.
Kansas tonight.
Michael Swain of Fog.net joins us here on 580 Sports Talk for Jayhawk Weekly. Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Best place to go for all the hot goss, all the rumors, all the reporting about what's going on with the transfer portal, and so much more. I'm all over the message boards all the time. I can't get enough. It is the best place to find all that KU information. It's only if you're a VIP over at 24/7 Sports. And, of course, you can follow Michael as well on Twitter at mswain247. But, Michael, while I thought we were going to start with basketball today, we've got to get to the football side. KU backup quarterback Ethan Vasco into the transfer portal. It seemed to me like he was next in line to be a long-term starter for KU. How did this end up happening?
Yeah, I think this is probably what it's going to be like going forward, right? You think about the quarterback position and the transfer portal, right? Guys don't necessarily want to wait until they're a redshirt junior to play. And you can't really either blame players for taking those opportunities, but I think that's really what it is. You look at the quarterback situation at Kansas, right? Ethan Vasco redshirted last year. He'd be a redshirt freshman this season. And let's say Jalen Daniels comes back for the 2024 season. Well, that would be Vasco's redshirt sophomore season. 2025 would be his redshirt junior season. So that'd be probably the first time he would really have a realistic chance of starting at Kansas would be 2025. And at that point, then he's got 2 years to play. And traditionally, right before the transfer portal, like that was kind of considered to be the usual time that a player would take over at a starting position. Well, now with the transfer portal, Vasco might be able to go find somewhere where maybe not this fall, but next fall he could start. And maybe even this fall he could get some playing time, right? I think learning an offense in fall camp is hard, so maybe not that situation. But this is one of those where it's tough for Kansas because he's a player that I think everyone around the program has raved about, right? Mac Gildersleeve, who's about as important a figure as there is in the KU program outside of the head coach. He's someone that said he could see Vasco leading the Kansas program one day. Andy Koldernicki raved about him last week when he talked to him. So this is a guy that, in terms of the program, the coaches really liked, really thought highly of. And from the player perspective, it's kind of just modern day college football. He wants to go play somewhere. I just don't know if you can really blame him for wanting that.
No, and I think that's entirely fair that, look, you only get so long to play, especially if you are a non-COVID year guy. You might as well go play while you've got the opportunity to, so I don't fault him at all. But then you end up in a situation, Michael, with KU where you've got Jalen Daniels this year. Okay, great. You're set at quarterback. Jason Bean is your backup and maybe gadget guy. We know he's got just 1 year of eligibility left. And then you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's Ben Easters who's the last quarterback on the roster. And then down the pipeline, and I know this came up on my Twitter today, you've got Isaiah Marshall, who's class of 24, who I know there's a lot of hype around, but that's way down the line. And if Daniels doesn't come back, well, you're probably not starting a true freshman there. Do you have kind of an early glimpse of what the hierarchy going beyond 2023 looks like at quarterback for KU?
Yeah, I mean, they go to the portal if Jalen Daniels leaves. Like, let's just be straight about this. They go to the transfer portal and use the last 2 seasons of film, right? This upcoming 2023 season, what then would be the past season, and show quarterbacks. Look at this offense. Look at what it does in terms of protecting you, right? Take a Jalen Daniels scramble play out of it, right? He didn't get hit that hard very much. So it's an offense that's quarterback friendly, right? It doesn't put a ton of pressure on the quarterback to run out of the pocket, make plays. They can do that, but it's a good offense for a quarterback. And you can say you got Devin Neal coming back. You can basically return most of the offensive line, right? Dominic Cooney and Mike Nowitzki will be done after this year, but you look at the guard position that Kansas has. I mean, they've got 2 guys that could easily plug and play in there next year as well. So I think it's one of those things where they go to the portal and try and find a guy that has 1, maybe 2 years of eligibility left and really try and do that for 24 and 25. So that redshirt sophomore year for Isaiah Marshall is a time when he probably is, the quarterback, obviously Lance Leipold will probably try and add some competition there so that it's not a walk in the park, because I think how often have we heard that phrase from, Leipold that, hey, they want this to be a program with competition. So I think nobody's going to be handed anything. Right, you look beyond Jalen Daniels. If Ben Easters is still around, he'll compete. And if they go and add a transfer, he'll compete. And whoever they go out and get will have to earn the job. But I do think that if Jalen Daniels does leave after this season, whether it be the NFL or whatever, I think it's the type of thing where they just go transfer, and they'd be a pretty attractive destination if this season goes well for a quarterback transfer.
Michael Swain is our guest, covers KU for Fog.net and 24/7 Sports. You can also find him on Twitter at mswain247. He joins us every Tuesday for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's flip over to the basketball side, Michael, as we are deep into portal season now. It's the offseason games-wise, but as you know, covering the team and covering college hoops, the season never really ends at this point. We'll get to the biggest fish out there, Hunter Dickinson, in just a moment, but I do want to ask about Nick Timberlake, who is a transfer portal guy, a graduate transfer, if I'm not mistaken, from Towson, who was on campus this past weekend. Sharpshooter, over 40% from three-point range. He's got 1 year left to play. What do you think KU's odds of eventually landing him are, and what would they be getting if he does end up picking KU?
Oh, man, the odds game is hard. I think they're definitely in the mix for him, and I think it's going to be KU or really UConn, who I think obviously visited Carolina before the dead period, but my feeling is that it seems like it's going to be KU or UConn. We'll have to see on that, but I think Timberlake's the type of guy that, you think about it, right? Towson didn't necessarily have a big recruitment where he's got a ton of high major programs coming after him. So yeah, he's going to take his visits. And again, this is one of those situations where you can't blame the player for that decision. If he picks KU, I mean, that's a perfect guard, I think, for what they're going to be looking for, where he can provide spacing, he can shoot. I think he's athletic enough to play at the Big 12 level, and he's a guy that can play with DeJuan Harris. He can play with Elmarko Jackson. And I think there's probably a scenario in which he could play alongside Elmarko Jackson and DeJuan Harris. So in terms of his fit on the floor, I think it's great. I think it's probably a higher level Isaiah Moss. If I had to compare it to a past KU player, I think maybe a step above what Moss brought. But I think it'd be a really big get, and we'll have to see what he decides after this UConn visit, which will start this Friday.
Man, there is no bigger Isaiah Moss fan than me, so you are preaching to the choir, and I'd love to hear that. That is an angelic thing to say in that situation. Is he a starting caliber piece? And again, it's no done deal that he's coming to KU, but we're at a stage where KU is in the market and hasn't brought anyone in yet. If he ended up being a Jayhawk, does that feel like a sixth man or a guy who might actually start on the perimeter?
I think it's the type of guy that would maybe start on the perimeter, but then play the 20 to 25 minutes and maybe a sixth man would. And I think they would do that just to line up the minutes, right? Where then you can really get a nice rotation going with Elmarko and DeJuan, where maybe you play DeJuan the first 4, let him sit right after the under 16, bring in Elmarko, and then you take out Nick for a little bit, and then you kind of figure out whoever you want for the crunch time lineup. So I think it's the type of guy that, yeah, sure, he could be a quote-unquote starter. I'd be more interested to see if he's the type of guy that's out there finishing games, because how often have we heard Bill Self talk about, right? It's not about who starts the game, it's about who finishes it. And I know that Timberlake is a guy that could be a starter. I'm more interested to see, is he the type of guy defensively that can be out there down the stretch of these games? So I think he's the type of guy that'd be a really good addition for Kansas.
And two, if you go back to the championship team in 21-22, not that Nick Timberlake and Remy Martin are anything like the same player. I mean, other than being a guard, they're not the same at all. But, I mean, we remember that year where Self kept saying, even when Martin was crazy hot, we like him coming off the bench. We like the 5 we have. He brings energy off the bench, a little bit of spark 4 or 5, 6 minutes into the game. Would that be the same kind of thing then with Timberlake if you're saying, yeah, he's your quote-unquote sixth man, but he's going to play a ton of minutes, that we like the defensive set we have at the start, then we can bring him in for a little bit of a spark off the bench?
I think it'd almost be the opposite, where maybe you bring Elmarko Jackson off the bench and say, this is the guy that's going to go bring a spark in terms of being the ball handler. I think if Timberlake was the guy that came off the bench, I think, yeah, he'd fit that, right? I think he's the type of guy that can come in on the first 2 possessions, knock down 2 threes, get out Fieldhouse roaring, and all of a sudden you're looking at a Kansas, 19-3 run that we've seen so many times inside of that building. So I think he's the type of guy that just is more of a, I hate the word fringe starter because that's going to demean what he could be, but it's just a guy that, hey, if he's starting, cool. If he's your 6-man, cool. But if he's playing 20 minutes a game to 25 minutes, I think you feel pretty good about that minute load for him.
Michael Swain is joining us here on 580 Sports Talk, covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. It's Jayhawk Weekly here on the program. Go find Michael on Twitter as well, at mswain247. I teased it a minute ago. Let's get to the biggest name out there, and one of the biggest names that has ever been in the transfer portal. It's the big man, Hunter Dickinson from Michigan, and we talked a little bit about him last week, I believe it was. Right now, what's your feel on what kind of schools, not even necessarily specific schools, but what kind of programs you think Dickinson would be interested in going to, whether it's all about the NIL or it's about getting ready for the NBA or maybe wants to play for a championship? What do you feel like his lean might be?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost it's worth noting that, he's playing things pretty close to the vest. And I think our Maryland publisher, Jeff Ehrman, does a really good job of kind of keeping a good touch on what's going on. He's got a really good connections in the DMV area. So I think for Hunter Dickinson, it's going to come down to kind of, okay, does he want to go and play close to home? Okay, if so, that's Maryland or Georgetown. Georgetown might, with Ed Cooley, have the sort of maybe NIL program to compensate him for what maybe he's looking for. I think Maryland obviously has a connection. His former high school coach, I believe, or AAU coach, I can't remember his name specifically, but he is now an assistant coach at Maryland. So there's a prior relationship there. If you want to look at, Hunter being able to show off his skill set, I mean, Kansas in the Big 12 is something close to a perfect fit, right? I think a big man with his skill set, Bill Self, could do so many things with that and build an offense and build really a team around that. And he's the type of player that'll be a game changer for Kansas. And I think they're going to really show him that. And I think there's no better players to look at in terms of the NIL market than someone like Grady Dick or even Jalen Wilson. Grady Dick being the high profile freshman, right? Came in, very professional, right? Did his work on the court, was also able to make a bunch of coin off the court. And Jalen Wilson, who came back to school, was the guy that helped KU win a national title and was one of the leaders of the team and was able to profit off of that as well. So I think in terms of messaging and the ability to recruit a player, Kansas has about as good of a pitch as anyone. It's really just going to come down to, does Hunter Dickinson want to come back to the Midwest and play, or is he going to want to go back to the East Coast and be closer to home and family for what could be his final year of college?
To play the hypothetical game, and I know we'll be playing this a bunch because who knows when certain guys will commit or when Hunter in particular wants to commit, but if he ended up committing to KU, if he buys into what KU is selling and he says, yes, this is the best place for me to spend my final year of college eligibility, how much would he raise KU ceiling for next year, regardless of who else fills in the roster from the transfer portal? How much does a player like Dickinson raise the ceiling?
So much. I mean, it's a national title team. Like, there's no two ways about it. You look at what Kansas wants in the portal. It's a big man that I think Bill Self said, a little tongue-in-cheek, 20-10. Well, I mean, Hunter Dickinson got pretty darn close to 20-10 last year. And he's the type of guy that offensively, what was the thing that this last year's team lacked? The guy that when the other team's going on a run, you can throw the ball in the post and get 2 points easily and take 15 seconds off the clock, right? KU would have loved to have that against Arkansas in the NCAA tournament. And he provides that. And I think it's a skill set, too, that in terms of his three-point shooting, he's the type of guy that can maybe allow DeJuan Harris to attack the rim a little bit more than you saw this past season, where teams really started to pack the paint and really made it hard for DeJuan Harris to get paint touches. And that was the only way KU really was able to get paint touches last year. So he does so much for Kansas offensively. I think defensively, he'd be good enough for Bill Self. I think there'll probably be some games where maybe it'd frustrate Self a little bit, but I mean, he's the type of player that the skill set, being the anchor of the team offensively, being good enough on the glass defensively, that really would just elevate the team to a whole new level. And I mean, you want to talk about recruiting other players, right? You can say, hey, we got Hunter Dickinson, DeJuan Harris, who, helped us win the national title, and then a McDonald's All-American and a Marco Jackson. I mean, that's a pretty good starting spot. And that's before we even mention someone like KJ Adams returning as a starter and Miss Duday off the bench. Like, it'd be a really, really stacked team.
Final thing I've got for you, Michael, and we've got just about a minute here. You had a post over at fog.net this week about when guys have committed to KU out of the portal in recent years, looking at Remy Martin and Kevin McCullough and Joe Yesufu and these myriad guys. So with that in mind and with the trends for KU in mind, when would you expect to have a clearer picture of this roster? Is it something that is truly up in the air, which with the portal it seems like everything is, or would you expect that given past trends, we can probably say late April into early to mid-May is when we will finally see some clarity?
Yeah, I think probably the end of this month. And here's the thing, right? Obviously, every player's transfer portal recruitment is different, right? Really, no two are the same. As crazy as that is to say. Now, the best players can wait because the best teams will wait, right? Remy Martin didn't go in the portal till May and committed to KU a week later. Kevin McCullough went in late April and committed to KU middle of May. So it is a type of situation where the best players can wait, and Hunter Dickinson, for all we know, could wait. He could also decide, I don't know when. I'm not even going to try and speculate because I have no idea. But I think it's the type of situation where if we get to late April and things are looking a little stale early May and it's not looking great, then maybe it's time to get worried. But man, it's just so hard to even consider any sort of worry at this point when, I mean, there's so many guys on the board still that KU's in the mix with.
Michael Swain covers the Kansas Jayhawks for fog.net and 24/7 Sports and does it better than anybody. Go check out all of his phenomenal work covering KU there. You can follow him on Twitter as well. His handle is at mswain247, and he joins us every Tuesday for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. Michael, we appreciate the time, and as always, appreciate the insight, and we'll see if we can get any more clarity on, well, the KU quarterback situation or the portal coming up next week. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
That is Michael Swain from fog.net and 24/7 Sports. Awesome insight on everything going on with KU and the portal. Don't freak out yet. No one's committed yet, but the biggest fish, Hunter Dickinson, still out there. Plenty of other big names. Guys are going in every day. If you're a KU fan, don't panic yet. Once we get to June, then maybe you can be a little bit worried if no one's in the fold. We've got to get to a break for the national and local news. We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines, a Royals preview, and more all next hour right here on 580 Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk, final hour going up on a Tuesday. Brendan Dworzinski and Dan Lucero here with you until 6 o'clock. We've got some Royals baseball coming up tonight, 7:05 first pitch. Oh, excuse me, 6:30 pregame on the Royals Radio Network here on 580 WIBW. So we've got some 580 Sports Talk overtime coming up prior to that. We'll listen back to our conversation with Michael Swain, who joined us last hour, and appreciate Michael taking the time. There's a lot going on with KU. This is pre-transfer portal. This would have been a dead time for college sports.
Yeah.
Instead, you've got KU basketball needing to add spots. K-State busy in the transfer portal as well. We'll talk to Tim Fitzgerald tomorrow about what K-State is staying busy with. Got a K-State headline here in a moment, by the way. But no, this is fun. So we appreciate Michael jumping in to talk about all things KU football and basketball with us today. We will also, coming up this hour on 580 Sports Talk, get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll preview Royals versus Rangers tonight and more. We are also taking your texts on the text line, 785-272-9429. And we are going to take your comments in the YouTube comment section. Sports on 580 WIBW is the name of our YouTube channel. Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. We just had another headline just pop up. We'll get to that here in a second.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, let's just jump right in. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. This news breaking via Pete Thamel of ESPN within the last 90 seconds. The Big Ten has reportedly found its next commissioner. It is Tony Petitti, who is a former executive with both Major League Baseball and with CBS Sports. This is now of the last 4 Power 5 commissioners that have been hired, and Petitti will be announced at some point later on this week, I assume. You had Jim Phillips to the ACC, who's a lifelong college athletics administrator, former AD at Northwestern when they were really killing it during the 2010s and the late 2000s. He ends up commissioner of the ACC. Kevin Warren came from an NFL background, and that was an outsider. That was a little while ago. But you also had, among recent hires, this is a guy now who has worked for MLB and CBS Sports Media, George Kliavkov, who was with MGM Entertainment. He wasn't even in the sports space. He was an entertainment guy from Vegas. And he swooped in, and the whole thing was, we're going to rebrand, and we're going to have this guy who's got an in Vegas and Hollywood and knows these people, and we're going to use his ties with MGM, and it's going to be great. And then Brett Yormark, who was, again, in the sports space. He worked for the Brooklyn Nets, and he did a bunch of deals with NASCAR and the Barclays Center where the Nets play. He had been in the sports space, but he was, again, something of an outsider. He had never been a commissioner. He had never been a college sports administrator before. So that's another commissioner for a conference that has been hired from outside the college sports space. So far, what are we hitting on these? I mean, Kliavkov feels like a miss at this point. Yormark's absolutely a hit.
Right.
I get it, but it's just interesting that it seems like a bold step, not as in a, wow, I can't believe it, but bold as in like, we've got more building we plan to do.
So the last couple of years of Tony Petitti's professional career have been a little itinerant. He was working for an online venture called the 33rd Team. He was the co-CEO of the 33rd Team, which was a media venture that was launched by a couple of former NFL executives.
Yeah, they do a lot of podcasting and YouTube video stuff now. It's a lot of talking about the NFL from a GM perspective.
Prior to that, Petitti was the president of sports and entertainment of a company called Activision Blizzard, which is very big in the like esports and video game space.
Yeah, big. So I believe that's who publishes World of Warcraft.
So he was the president of sports and entertainment for Activision Blizzard. He was in that role for less than a year. Prior to that, he was the COO of Major League Baseball. He took over that role after Rob Manfred was promoted from that role to the commissionership. So Petitti was the COO of Major League Baseball. Prior to that, he was the head of the MLB network, the television network. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, he worked at CBS Sports for quite a while. He was hired by them in 1997, worked for them for 11 years. He was at one point in charge of the day-to-day operations of what was known at the time as CSTV, which has since been rebranded into CBS Sports Network.
Yeah.
So
CSTV, wow, that's a blast from the past.
So like a pretty broad spectrum of professional experience for Tony Petitti, but if there's a common thread, it has kind of been sports media. And that's where the money is in sports right now, right? The money in sports is in your media rights and your television contracts and how visible your sport is. And so I guess I'm not surprised in that regard that you would hire somebody with some extensive experience when it comes to sports media. But yeah, there's no college background to speak of. This is interesting. This is an interesting one for the Big Ten.
We'll see if it works. You think Kevin Warren was a good commissioner for the Big Ten?
He got him USC and UCLA. I don't see how you can grade his tenure as anything less than a success.
That's fair. That's entirely fair.
Like he got them. I mean, he got them in the conversation with the SEC. He made college sports a Big Two in a way that, I mean, the Big Ten was always maybe the likeliest to join the SEC in terms of just the size and the scope of their television contract, media rights, dollars. But Kevin Warren got it there. And I think he was maybe not as successful in some other ways. But at the end of the day, that conference is what it is because Kevin Warren made the deals to bring aboard the West Coast to what had traditionally been a Midwestern conference.
It's the Frank Clark principle, right? Did the Chiefs overpay to get Frank Clark? Probably.
Yeah.
Did it help them win a Super Bowl? Yup.
Also, yes.
Was it worth it? Oh, yeah. Absolutely was. So, yeah, that is Tony Petitti, your new soon-to-be commissioner of the Big Ten.
Yeah, that is fresh, hot off the presses, breaking news within the last 10 minutes or so. You said we had a K-State headline, so I'll get right to it, being reported in multiple corners. And this is not a surprise because this was kind of hinted at during the previous basketball season, that the hard court at Bramlage Coliseum is going to look a little different next season. There will be a new court design at the Octagon of Doom, and it might just incorporate the lavender.
Nice. We love it.
Gene Taylor hinted at that when he spoke to some fans this week for a Q&A session, saying, quote, "Don't be surprised if there's a little lavender somewhere in the mix." They're going to have a brand new court. Taylor says it will be very bright and very, very clear. It's going to really brighten up the look and feel of Bramlage. I don't think it's going to be anything like Oregon's court.
Hopefully.
It's so funny. Every time I turn on an Oregon basketball game, instantly my wife will say, "I hate that court.
It's bad.
It's not good." I don't think you're going to get like a pattern like that necessarily, but maybe some different colors, maybe a different element at midcourt, other than the Power Cat, maybe a script, maybe, Smiling Willie. I don't know. But yeah, something different down on the floor surface at Bramlage Coliseum. There's probably time for a change, probably not just for the surface, but for the look. I mean, if you're going to be like, there's a new feel, there's a new vibe around K-State basketball. Why not pair it right now with a different look down on the floor?
I admit I'm going to sound like a hater. I'm not trying to be, but I can understand why a K-State fan might perceive me to be. Watching Bramlage on TV gives me a bad vibe. Not like something bad is going to happen, but it's kind of dark. The court, it's a little tired, and there's a lot of open space behind the court. Like you can see the concrete behind the stanchion. Can we get some box seating behind the baskets, maybe? Can we put some fans there or something?
Well, they have done that behind one of the baskets. The tunnel end that's a tough one because you got to keep the tunnel clear.
Right.
That's where everybody goes. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But no, I get it. I understand why people say that it doesn't look visually appealing on television. And I do. I think a brighter color scheme. I think lavender makes a lot of sense. It would brighten the place. It would look better aesthetically. I think it would play better on TV for whatever that's worth. And some people may not care about that at all, but I do think there's something to that feeling like when you watch a game at a certain venue on TV and it feels a little more vibrant than Bramlage does. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, they're going to make it look a little brighter. A++. I love it. do it, whatever it takes, go there. Idea for you, two-tone court. You get the regular, the K-State purple, Power Cat, center court, maybe a little smaller, a little bigger, whatever they do with it, lavender sidelines. You go two-tone, like the uniforms.
I like the two-tone. I know that's not a resoundingly popular opinion, but I like the two-tone.
I do too. It's unique. It is different. It is a Kansas State thing. They do the two-tone purple. They've got the lavender. I love it. I wish K-State would lean into that, honestly, even more than they do, maybe for both football and for basketball. Do you like court designs in general? Like the actual hardwood brown part of the floor? Do you like when it's got a design? Not Oregon, but like a couple different places.
Like the skyline sort of design. Like they've got a Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City.
Memphis either does or used to have the same. They've changed theirs a few times.
It depends. Like sometimes if done like tastefully, I think it can look really cool. Sometimes I don't think it's done tastefully. I think it's a little tacky. What I don't like is the color inside the 3-point arc, but not in the lane like they had for the Final Four this year.
Okay.
Where they had that. There's no other way to describe it. It was a urine shade of yellow inside the 3-point arc, and then the paint was just regular old.
It was a little
hardwood
pea
color.
colored. Yeah.
Yeah. That looked terrible. It was distracting on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So
I didn't mind it because it was a lighter color. Like if it had been like dark green or something, I would have said, yo, this sucks.
I would tend to err with a court design on the side of being minimal. Like you don't want to overdo it. You don't want your word mark to be too big. You don't want too many words on the court. You don't want too much of a logo, something that's too distracting from what you're supposed to be watching, which is what's going on the court.
That's entirely fair. I'm just excited it's going to look a little brighter. That is going to make my viewing experience of K-State hoops that much higher. Thank you, K-State. Next headline for me on our 580 Sports Talk headlines on this Tuesday afternoon. If you are looking forward to Red Zone and, more importantly, Sunday Ticket for this year for the NFL season, we now know how much it is going to cost, at least for now, for you to get Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV or the YouTube Premium channel. YouTube TV won the bidding rights for 2023. This is the writing of Reuters, marking a major shift in the game broadcast services and set the initial price at $249 for existing YouTube TV customers. That is a limited time price, and it will go up by $100 after June 6th. So if you've got YouTube TV, you want to subscribe to it, whatever, if you sign up between now and June 6th, which is just under 2 months, you can get it for $249. That is steadily discounted from what you were paying for DirecTV. Now, DirecTV, you also had to buy the equipment. You had to pay for a contract for the service.
Right.
Whole mess there. Now, once that goes up after June 6th, they're going to raise it to $349. So it'll go up by $100 after that date. If you want to add Red Zone as part of that package, it is going to cost you then an extra $40 on top of that. So if you want Red Zone and Sunday Ticket, you want to get it tomorrow or whenever this opens. I don't actually know when it will be. Mm-hmm. It'll cost you $289. If you wait until after June 6th, it'll cost you nearly $400.
Maybe I'm a heretic. I can do without Red Zone. I know there are a lot of people who say, oh, man, this has revolutionized the way I watch football. I can't imagine NFL Sunday without having Red Zone on one of the screens. Like, man, I could take it or leave it. Like, I will not pay for it personally. I would not pay for Red Zone. Like, if you've got it, great. You want to give it to me for a week, I'll take advantage. I'm not paying for that because I'm not watching a game if I'm watching Red Zone.
I know a lot of folks, and I see this on Twitter all the time during the season. I can't imagine watching a full game. Like, all I care about is,
touchdowns.
It's either all I care about is gambling, all I care about is fantasy, or I don't have the attention span for it. And that, includes a lot of people. I like Red Zone as an ancillary screen. I do the 3 TV setup.
Yeah.
Put the main game on the big screen with the volume on. Second screen, whatever is not on the main one, CBS or Fox or whatever. And then on the third screen, I'll put on Red Zone because, okay, I've got the Packers game here, the Chiefs game here. Well, I'd like to see what's going on with the Jags or with the Bears or whoever. Mm-hmm. That's why I keep Red Zone up. So I like having it as an option. And I think YouTube TV now, you can spend $11 a month and it's in their like Sports Plus package.
Right.
So we subscribe for September through December to get Red Zone and then just unsubscribe and save the $11 there. So I like it for that, but I don't think I'd spend 40 extra bucks. Well, I mean, I guess I'm spending that anyway. So I think I would probably do that if I was getting it. I'm not a Sunday ticket guy, though. I've never had it.
I've never had it either because I've never had DirecTV.
Yeah.
Sure seems like, though, if you're not a YouTube TV subscriber, the price might be a bit of a steep barrier.
Yeah. And I like YouTube TV. I've said many times that's what I have. That's what I use. I like the service. It's gone up in price, which I don't like. But you can always unsubscribe from it at any time. You can just say, hey, I'm gonna get it for the Thursday of the first game of the NFL season, and the Monday after the Super Bowl, I am going to get rid of it. And you can. There's no contract. You're not stuck with a year. You don't have all the equipment, whatever. But it's pricey. This is not cheap. This is not. It amazed me when I found out how many people had Sunday Ticket. Obviously, it's popular. It's been around for forever. But I didn't realize how many people I knew had it. And I thought, damn, I don't have $300, $350, $400 laying around to spend on this. I have been known to, peruse some websites
Sure.
a time or two if there's a game that I can't find on my cable.
Well, the other thing is if you're getting if either you're a fan of the local team and they're on TV all the time anyway, and that's who you're watching, or if you're a fan of a out of town team, you can always go to a sports bar. There are other alternatives for you. Some websites that I won't name, but exist if you care to find them. That is certainly how I watched a couple of Seahawks games last year and in my life. But yeah, the idea of buying every single, you can't watch them all. It's not like when I buy MLB TV, right? I buy MLB TV every year, and I can't watch the Royals on MLB TV living here, but I can watch my favorite team is an out of town team, obviously the Rockies, and I can watch all the Rockies games on there. But the Rockies might be on at last night they were on at 7:40. Okay. Well, the East Coast games are on earlier. If I want to watch an East Coast game, I can catch a couple of innings. If I want to watch a late game, like a West Coast game, last night I dialed into Nationals Angels in the 4th inning after the Rockies were over with.
I also watched that game. The freaking Angels.
The Angels are so.
They lost to Patrick Corbin.
How can you lose to Patrick? It's bad.
Embarrassing.
Anyway, but with Sunday Ticket, all the games are in 2 big chunks, right? So how many of them can you possibly be watching at one time unless you've got 6 different TVs? And then, I can just flip back and forth from game to game. Well, then you're not really watching a game if you're just flipping. And, maybe I'll land on a good game. I don't know. I don't see the necessity. I've never been one that sees the necessity of it unless, my team plays out of town, but for about a 10-year period there, the Seahawks were on national TV a lot. So I got to watch the majority of their games. And if they weren't on national TV, I knew where to go get them.
Yeah, Jake asked me this earlier if I would pay for it at the discounted price. And I said, no, probably not. But I am a fan of a team that, to some other fan bases, to an annoying degree, is on Sunday Night Football a lot.
Or America's Game of the Week.
They're America's Game of the Week. We live in a part of the country where there aren't many teams. You got to go 7 hours south to get to the Cowboys, 7.5 hours south, 8 hours west to get to the Broncos, and then 8 hours north to get to the Vikings. There's just no one around. So the Packers, one way or the other, are often on in our area anyway. So it's not really, worth it for me. But if you are a subscriber, and I know many of you are, now you know the price. By the way, I should add this. I almost forgot. Daniel Kaplan from The Athletic also added in his report about this that while it's not available now, there are at least talks about in the future having a single team package.
That's the one they'll make the money on. I feel like that's the one that will entice people. Because would I pay close, I probably wouldn't go over 200 a year, but $150 a year for all 17 regular season games.
Yeah, it's less than $10 a game.
Yeah, I do the a la carte version 100%.
And I'm sure it will still be pricey. I think it's league pass for the NBA. It's $150 a year. You get the whole league, or you can spend $120 and just get your team. Well, I'll just pay the extra $30.
Right.
Why would I spend that for so much less content?
Yeah, I'm getting $1 per team for every other team in the league.
Right.
At that point.
Right. Exactly. So, I would probably do that just to make sure I, don't have to hop on the old pirate ship and sail the seas. I would probably do that.
All right. Got a couple of NFL notes as we continue our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Tampa Bay Buccaneers linebacker Devin White has requested a trade from the Buccaneers. Pro Bowl inside linebacker and 2019 first-round draft pick has reportedly grown increasingly frustrated with the team, and with one source telling ESPN that he is, quote, fed up. The source did not provide specifics on the root cause of White's frustration. I have a guess. They're going to be butt next season. Another source told ESPN that White's frustration stemmed from a negotiation over a new contract. The Buccaneers do not want to trade him, but White wants to be traded as he is coming up on his fifth-year option worth $11.7 million. Devin White was not real good last year. Took a step back production-wise.
Mm-hmm. Here's the problem with Devin White in general. He had one solid year, a good year in 2020. He had a good year, and he was one of the three best players in the playoffs that year. He was a menace in the postseason. Chiefs fans, you remember. Has he been good since? Because honestly, he's a great athlete. He was a superstar athletic tester when he came out. He's fast. In theory, he's got downhill power, and he's got the speed and agility to drop back in coverage. He's not really good at either, though. Like, you can have the traits for it, but you got to put it together. And that's one of those grades, PFF we can make fun of a lot, and deservedly so. That's one grade they got right. They've never been high on Devin White, and I don't really think he's been that good since that Super Bowl. So if someone's fed up, it might be the Buccaneers.
Devin White on a 1-year, $11.7 million deal fetches what in return? Third-round pick? Fourth-round pick?
Compensatory fourth-rounder? Like late fourth, maybe? I mean, if you're a team that just really needs some linebacker help, I could see it for a team that maybe had 2 fourths. Like, hey, we need a body. He's a good athlete. We'll have the chance to negotiate if we want to extend him. Sure. I
just wonder which teams that fancy themselves contenders think they need a linebacker.
Yeah, I mean,
like an off-ball linebacker, which is what White is.
Look at AFC. Chiefs do not. They absolutely do not. Are you throwing the Chargers into that group?
They did lose Drew Tranquill.
Could they afford? Like, are they in a spot where they can afford giving up an early day 3 pick?
Probably not.
Probably not.
With how expensive all their guys are, like they need cheap talent.
The Bengals are about to pay Joe Burrow $94 billion.
And they're about to extend T. Higgins as well.
Yeah. And eventually they will have to extend Jamar Chase. That doesn't make sense. The Bills? I mean, they're also paying Josh Allen a lot of money. I feel like they need an offensive line.
Their linebacker group's in pretty good shape. They got Milano coming back. Like, they got a pretty
That's true. They did bring Milano back.
Yeah.
So no there. So those are your biggest contenders in the AFC.
The NFC's a free-for-all.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles don't need linebackers.
No.
The Eagles have good linebackers.
Yeah.
The 49ers do not need to spend anything on a defensive player.
Cowboys are probably fine.
Yeah, they're bringing Van Der Esch back, I believe.
Seahawks are fine. They brought Bobby Wagner back in.
Yep.
You're damn right we're talking about the Seahawks.
Yeah, no, they deserve to be there. I mean,
Detroit?
Man, they're smarter than that now, though. They're actually being run like a real team now. Speaking of the Lions, you want to get to what they did today?
What did they do today?
They traded Jeff Okudah.
Yes, they did. Yes, a trade in the National Football League today. The Lions trading Jeff Okudah, who was the number 3 overall pick in 2020, to the Falcons in exchange for a 5th-round pick. Probably bad when you were trading the 3rd overall pick 3 years later for a 5th-round pick. Okudah started 15 games last year for the Lions, played well, set career highs in tackles and passes defended, and had his first career pick 6. But the Lions have added a pair of corners in free agency this offseason, Cam Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley. The Falcons have been adding a lot of pieces on defense, and now they have Okudah to go with Casey Hayward and A.J. Terrell, which is not a terrible group of corners. But
no, it's not. Terrell's a really good player.
But yeah, Okudah did not live up to the rather lofty expectations that come with being the number 3 overall pick, so probably benefits him to get a fresh start.
Okudah got benched in week 18 when the Lions had a really huge game, and he was a healthy scratch and was not considered part of the game plan for that game. He got a raw deal. I still think there's talent there. I think he might be able to be a serviceable player in Atlanta, but he had to deal with 2 major problems that are tough for any young player. One, he had a severe leg injury. not great for a guy who depends on change of direction, speed, all that.
Right.
Number two, he was coached by Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
Not great for anyone, especially a young player.
Not a good situation at all. One other NFL headline, such as it is, Green Bay Packers president Mark Murphy essentially saying nothing new, all quiet on the Aaron Rodgers trade front.
I'm wondering if that deal is going to happen on draft night, like on April 27th at this point, if that might be when that deal happens. It's going to happen at some point. We talked about it the other day. All their players are saying, yeah, we're going to have Aaron Rodgers on the team. Like, everyone knows it's going to get done. I'm just wondering if maybe they wait a little bit and just do it at the last moment. But it'll get done before the draft. The Packers are going to want those picks. They've got to figure out what they're doing with Jordan Love ASAP.
Yeah.
Because if he stinks, maybe you try to get a pick next year and move up to get Caleb Williams. He's going to be a superstar. That does it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We're going to take a quick break. We'll preview the Royals a little bit later on. We've also got your text, your YouTube comments, and more to get to. All coming up on 580 Sports Talk. .34 on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you. That's a great song, by the way. Stacked Actors.
Awesome song.
Foo Fighters. Awesome song. A couple pieces of information to get to here before we get to a Royals preview later this hour. So Post Malone has a Raising Cane's now that he's opening.
Yeah.
You a big Post Malone guy?
Can't say that I am, but his songs are inescapable.
Yeah, they really are.
Like he is like, you look at Post Malone and think, yeah, not for me. Like just have a visceral reaction to the way that he looks and think, not for me. But some of his songs are good. Like there are some songs that I hear and they don't make me dive to change the radio station or anything.
Yeah, it's not like oppressively bad. It's just not really my style.
He's got some hits.
Yeah. He's opening a Raising Cane's though. I didn't know this until right now. That he's opening a Cane's in the Salt Lake City area. Why Salt Lake City?
I don't know. Maybe he's huge in Utah.
Maybe. That wouldn't surprise me, actually. That would frack.
It really
actually
would.
Quite a bit. You had asked me during the break if I would go to the restaurant, and at first I said no, but then I reconsidered and said yes. Why would I not go to Raising Cane's?
So I have had, like, at first when the gentleman professionally known as Post Malone came onto the scene, and he had the face tattoos and the hair that looked like if you dropped a lollipop on the floor of a barbershop, and just the whole aesthetic and vibe that he was putting out, I was like, yeah, no, absolutely not. Hard pass. Keep it away from me. No, thank you. He has sort of won a lot of people over, I think, since that maybe initial first impression.
Mm-hmm.
Again, lots of hits, lots of like Billboard top 10 hits. And now we know that he knows his way around a Raising Cane's, because the Posties Way box combo is also, in fact, Brendan and Dan's way of ordering at the Raising Cane's, which is the fingers, the fries, extra sauce, extra toast, no slaw. That is the appropriate way to order at the Raising Cane's.
Yeah. That's so funny.
All my homies hate coleslaw.
Fact. Well, at least the Cane's coleslaw. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll make a trip to Salt Lake City.
Yeah, a little pilgrimage to Midvale, Utah.
Midvale, Utah. I don't know if I've shared this story with you before. When I was a student at the University of Kansas and worked for KU Student Radio, shout out to KJHK, during the 2016 Big 12 tournament, that year I was the sports director of the radio station, and that day I was back in the studio. It was just me. I was hosting, and I was running the board for KU versus Baylor, and I think that was the semifinals of the Big 12 tournament. That was a good Baylor team, not as good as their title team, but that was a good Baylor team and a really good KU team. That was the day that Wayne Selden had that crazy dunk. That was Uncle Anthony. Well, Baylor had a player, you may remember him, by the name of Jake Lindsey, 6'5" point guard.
Yeah, I remember Jake Lindsey. I didn't like Jake Lindsey.
No, not a whole
flop
lot.
Artist.
Big time.
One of those guys that, like, one of his, they used to say a skill that he had was drawing charges. And trust me, if anywhere in your scouting report it says good at drawing charges, not a fan.
You might be Mitch Lightfoot.
Move your feet. Play real defense.
So this was around the same time that Post Malone had gotten big with his first ever hit song, White Iverson.
I remember White Iverson. Yeah.
He once played a concert in Lawrence where I'm pretty sure he played White Iverson 4 times. That was a big song when he first hit the scene. So the play-by-play guys we had, I will not name names, but I'm sitting in the studio. And again, it was my job to put the staff together and put these broadcast crews together or whatever. These two were jamokes. It did not go well. They were not good. They had bad all around. A lot of old inertia and, factors we don't need to get into. Anyway, Jake Lindsey crosses over at one point, steps back and hits a 3-pointer. And these were the guys, maybe you knew, I don't know if like at a D3 school you would have had the same thing, but working in student media at a major university with a major athletic department, you run into people who like make it their thing that they're going to hate the teams at the school. Like, they were not about KU football and basketball. They were like, no, we're above that. We're going to care about the non-revenue Olympic sports and other schools. We're not going to care about the popular teams. Like, there were those guys. If you've been to a big school and worked in that kind of thing, you probably know what I'm talking about.
Well, when you go to a Division III school, the Division III programs are nobody's favorite team. Like,
okay, fair.
Yeah, you don't leave, like, I'm not obsessively checking DePaul basketball box scores. I'm not up on the NCAC standings the way that I was when I was in college. It meant the world to me.
Oh,
I was tapped in. I dialed in. I knew everything. But yeah, most people that get into student radio Division III school, yeah, like you ask them what they cared more about, it was definitely Indiana basketball.
That's entirely fair. So anyway, to sum up this story, Jake Lindsey crossed someone over, stepped back and hit a 3-pointer, and the two guys on the radio that I had assigned to this game start screaming, "He's White Iverson," over and over again. They're not calling the game. They're just calling the one white kid on the floor White Iverson over and over and over again. And there I was, trapped, unable to do anything about it.
This is before, of course, they would have been canceled for their reverse racism or something like that.
Yeah, you definitely can't do that now. You really couldn't do that in 2016 either. And yeah, that's my Post Malone story.
Yeah, I'm looking at his discography here and like the singles, like the chronology of his singles, like all the way out on Congratulations. No,
yeah,
thanks.
That song stinks.
Rockstar, terrible, absolutely not. Sunflowers, about where he started to win me over a little bit. Circles is fine. I don't like aggressively hate that song. One Right Now is very good, but that might be more about The Weeknd than about him.
Yeah, that's about the extent of my knowledge of his individual songs.
Wow. Wow's good. It's catchy.
I don't even know if I know that one.
You do.
Okay, all right, well, fair enough.
You know that one.
That tells me all I need to know about my...
It's the one where he name drops Dak Prescott.
Oh, okay,
yeah, that's the one.
I know that one. All right, we need to get to a quick commercial break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, Royals versus Rangers tonight. Will Jacob deGrom make history against this Royals lineup? We'll discuss next on 580 Sports Talk. Coming up tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk from 3 to 6 Wednesday afternoon, Dan and I are going to chat with Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com for our weekly Wildcat wrap-up, brought to you by Azure Credit Union. A lot to get to with the transfer portal for K-State. Some thoughts on spring football as well. K-State's spring game is this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right about that or am I wrong about that? Now I have to look it up. Now I'm going to look like an idiot if I was wrong about this. And I really don't like looking like an idiot, even though I do it all the time. April 15th. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was right about that.
Yeah,
wow.
Saturday.
You got me. Pat myself on the back. I thought it was the 16th. I thought they're not doing it on a Sunday. That'd be very strange. And I was right. They are not, in fact, doing it on a Sunday. So we'll talk to Fitz tomorrow. We'll, of course, talk some Royals baseball. We'll get into some NFL draft stuff, all that coming up tomorrow right here on 580 Sports Talk. One other note from Mark, by the way, in the YouTube comment section. Good stuff from Mark here. Post Malone was on a ghost adventure or did ghost adventures for those into the paranormal shows and stuff. I seem to remember that he did some sort of ghost hunting show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into that. Do you believe in ghosts?
No.
Yeah, me either.
No, I'm out on ghosts.
Yeah, I don't. My younger sister really into ghosts. She was like we would go on these trips and she'd be like, no, something we should do while we're in this old city is go on a ghost tour. Not my thing. Not really into ghosts.
Fascinating. Also, Post Malone has a tattoo of JFK on his arm.
Like it just says JFK or it's actually John F. Kennedy?
No, it's John F. Kennedy. And the reason he gave behind getting a JFK tattoo was that Kennedy was, quote, the only president to speak out against the crazy corruption stuff that's going on in our government nowadays.
Huh.
Which is interesting. It's an interesting take.
If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Something like that.
Thank you, Post. Interesting. Where do you go from there?
I don't know, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah, 2018. He was on an episode of the show Ghost Adventures.
How about that? Okay.
He's also done Impractical Jokers, which I bet is a hoot.
Oh, yeah, I bet it is. My apologies to Mark. I totally misread his message. It was not, he went on a ghost adventure. The show is called Ghost Adventures.
Yes,
That's
correct.
my bad. As you can tell, not really my forte. Obviously. Royals versus Rangers coming up tonight, 7:05 first pitch, 6:30 pregame right here on 580 WIBW and the Royals Radio Network. Jacob deGrom going to make history? He going to strike out 10 in a row?
I mean, he might. He's been dealing first two starts. He had 7 strikeouts in 3 2/3 innings. Phillies hit him around a little bit on opening day. And then against Baltimore, he had 11 punch outs in 6 innings. Only one career regular season start against the Royals. I don't remember if he pitched against them in the World Series.
I don't recall either.
I'm going to double check and see if maybe he did. Yeah, he did. He didn't pitch particularly great. Took the loss, gave up 4 runs on 6 hits in 5 innings. That was also 8 years ago.
If I was one of our co-hosts who may be blonde and the oldest of the group, I would probably be yelling, he's a bum! Royals by 8 tonight.
Correct.
But I'm not going to do that.
He would absolutely 100% do that.
Can I interest you in the over-under strikeout totals for tonight?
9.5.
9.5.
DeGrom.
The juice is on the over. Minus 118 for the over.
Wow.
But it is minus 108 for the under as well. So you're not really getting great value either way on that.
No. Well, they watched the Royals last night just like we did.
Yeah, they did. Jordan Lyles over under 4.5.
He had 9 in his last outing. Only 2 in his first outing of the year, though. Not traditionally a big strikeout guy.
No.
The Rangers, though, they will swing and miss. That's a lineup with some swing and miss in it.
Can I interest you in what has become one of my favorite sicko bets?
Yes, absolutely you can.
First pitch. I bet
so
one
first pitch of the game or first pitch thrown by either pitcher?
First pitch in the first inning, you can do top or bottom of the inning.
Okay.
Your options on FanDuel, you can get taken or swinging strike or a foul ball, a ball or a hit by pitch, single, extra base hit, or any other outcome. I don't know what
Would any other outcome be?
Oh, I'm sorry. Any other out or outcome. Okay, so like
gotcha.
if you hit a fly out, that would
Sure.
count for that.
Yeah, first pitch swinging. Most guys don't swing at the first pitch.
No. If you want to take the odds for DeGrom, though, it's minus 190. That'll throw a first pitch strike to open the game.
Now I'm curious. I don't think he's an active major leaguer any longer. I could be wrong. He could still be kicking around somewhere. It doesn't look like he's on a roster or has played in a game yet this year. But I wonder what the odds of that would look like if the books knew, for example, that the leadoff hitter in the game was Alcides Escobar. Like any other out or outcome, minus 800.
They're essentially paying you not to bet on that. That's very funny.
Ball plus 1,200. Taken strike plus 2,000. What did I just say?
2,000.
2,000. What is
little
that?
Schwarzenegger in there. 2,000.
I think I was going to try and say 1,200, and then I upped it even more and ended up, doing my Arnold impersonation.
2,000.
2,000.
Have you seen our Royal starting lineup for tonight?
I have.
We're going to share it right now. Bobby Witt leading off. MJ Melendez in right field hitting second. Salvi behind the dish hitting third. Pasquantino cleaning up at first. Olivares in left field. He's your 5-hitter. Michael Massey hitting sixth at second base. Franmil Reyes, the man of the 100 batting average. He is your DA. Franmil Reyes. Kyle Isbell's in center.
You can bet first at-bat outcome for any of the starting players. What is Franmil Reyes' first at-bat strikeout?
All right, batter props. Let me go find here.
I have a free bet from our friends at FanDuel that I may put on this.
I actually cannot find that one.
Really?
Unless I'm looking in the wrong spot. If you go under batter props right now, Yeah, you can't find for just first at bat. Is that a live bet?
No, I've seen it, and I guess not seeing it on this game. I've seen it before, though. It does exist.
They saw Franmil Reyes in the lineup and said that's a liability.
Yeah, not tonight. Not tonight, friend.
Isbell is in center, and Hunter Dozier is hitting ninth at third base.
Hunter Dozier homered last night.
How about that?
Isn't that just a add to like a bigger bummer? It's like nothing went right for the Royals. But hey, at least the guy we all can't stand hit a dinger. Not like a Hunter Dozier hive among Royals fans, I've noticed.
Are there Dozier stands? Are there people who will live and die for Hunter Dozier?
Hunter's homies. Like, are you out there? Please let us know if you remain a Dozier diehard.
The Dozier diehards.
I just came up with 2 perfectly terrific fan club names for Hunter Dozier's remaining fans. Partying like it's 2019 with Hunter's homies.
That sounds like an awful NIL t-shirt venture.
The Dozier diehards. That's a whole segment. They're gonna section like they had the Gordo Nation. The Dozier diehards. There's gonna be 1 row of seats down the third base line in the corner.
If you search Dozier fans, you don't get a whole lot.
Does it ask you if you meant to search Hozier fans?
No, amazingly not. That is unfortunately a lot of old, like mid 2010s references today.
See that
OnStar.
This is why it's a good thing I do not do Royals play-by-play, because if I did, every time he homered, I would say more like Dunter Hozier because he just took that ball to church.
They would pull you out of the booth with an oversized shepherd's crook.
Vaudeville hook. Yep, they took me right off.
Here's a random tweet from a guy named Brett. I just searched Dozier fans. This is how I found this. He tweeted this on April 4th. At Royals, either cut Dozier or make it illegal for fans to talk about a downtown ballpark that won't exist for 7 years. My wife and 2 small children can't take a full season of both. That's what you get if you look for Hunter Dozier tweets. You get unhinged Royals fans.
Looking out for his family. I respect that.
It's a real family man right there. All right, Royals win tonight?
No,
they do not win tonight. All right, we'll get you to Royals pregame coming up at the bottom of the 6 o'clock hour. Right now, we have to take a break. We'll come back, finish up 580 Sports Talk with the final word. 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. Dan, you're up first with the final word.
I don't mean to be pessimistic about the Royals as much as I was in that last segment where I just flippantly said no, they weren't going to win tonight. I'm not saying that because the Royals are 3-8. I'm saying that because the pitching matchup is Jordan Lyles and Jacob deGrom. And I've seen enough of those guys' movies to know how they usually end.
Yeah, it's not a great matchup tonight for the Kansas City Royals. Not really. I mean, hey, here's your reason to watch the Royals tonight. That'll be my final word. Here's why you should watch the Kansas City Royals tonight. God only made so many Jacob deGroms. Those guys don't grow on trees. Go watch Jacob deGrom. And you're going to get to watch Jacob deGrom mow some guys down. Sure, they're guys you care about and have invested emotional energy in. But hey, if you're going to go watch a baseball game, you might as well watch a great performance. Go watch Jacob deGrom tonight. I am very hopeful that I'm mushing this because, man, I have mushed. I cannot get a Kansas State prediction or a Royals prediction right. Like all yesterday, I said, hey, pitching's been kind of impressive. I'm feeling good about this bullpen. They've been good. Dylan Coleman pooped all over that. So, well, Royals, best of luck. That does it for 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. If you missed any of the show, head to our website, 580wibw.com. Go to the podcast tab, click on 580 Sports Talk. That's where you'll find the hour-by-hour breakdown of the show. You can also go to YouTube, go back and watch the live stream. You can rewind, fast forward, do whatever you want once the show is uploaded. That's on our YouTube channel, Sports on 580 WIBW. We'll join you tomorrow at 3 for Dan Lucero. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Appreciate you listening to 580 Sports Talk.